on this special edition of Focus on Liberia. Mr. Sia, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. As always, this is home. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Tonight we have a full house. We have our panelists joining us from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Wilmot Cooney, former chairman of the board of EULA, and also former president of EULA. Mr. Cooney, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm happy to be here.
Also joining us for post-protest analysis is Dr. Barton Kula. If you like, you can add Reverend Dr. Barton Kula. Dr. Kula, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. Happy to be here again. And I'm kind of downhearted about what happened today, but I look forward to a great discussion.
All right, that tells me where you are standing. So I will pass it back to my man, Anthony Sia, who's going to keep the ball rolling. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is our post-protest analysis, the long-awaited June 6th protest. We're going to delve into that. We're going to look at the government reaction and also the future of not just the Council of Patriots, but also the future of protests in Liberia. Mr. Sia.
Thank you, Dennis, and folks in cyberspace. We are all set. As you heard, our guests are all seated, and here we go. And so before we get the ball rolling, we will now ask you to hit that share button, because you should not be the only one to benefit from the critical analysis of the protest that we got all packaged for you, and our analysts will be providing the analysis, while Dennis and I will be asking the hard questions so that we can all understand what happened, how it happened, and then what next. And so, folks, welcome to this broadcast. This is a post-protest analysis on Focus on Liberia. You are welcome, and please stay tuned and share. Gentlemen, we are here to provide analysis on the just ended protest. The protest, there was a back and forth that went on, and today it finally took place after it was rescheduled. Many of us follow it. We have unique knowledge of what happened, but for our first segment in this conversation, we want to start with the organization of the protest, talking about COP in organizing the protest, the government role in organizing the protest, and the role of the international community also organizing the protest. And so we will start with this by bringing in Dr. Kula. Dr. Kula, the COP organized a protest. From your observation, did it do a good job in organizing the protest?
I would say no. And the reason I say no is because although they were successful in finally getting the people to come out, as they trickled in, they filled out the square, the people seemed to be milling around with nothing much to do. I expected to hear speeches like they did before, even though they were singing and chanting, but there were no organized speeches. I wanted to hear the average market woman and Yana boy express their feelings and their angst, their disappointments to the president. And then following that, see the COP organizers give a speech. But because it was so disorganized from that perspective, when it came time for the COP to be on site, the organizers, they were not on site. And I was very disappointed about that, especially when the negotiation was going on about the cooking. That's where the trouble came from. They had set up a coal pot and they were cooking, and there was negotiation about not cooking, but I didn't see anybody but Mo Ali discussing it with the International Human Rights Group and the police officers. Once that fell through, that's when we had our problem. And after that, I didn't see the organizers around, so I felt disappointed about that. Disappointed in two things, the government, the police, and the organizers.
We will go into details later, but let us bring in our other analyst, Mr. Wilmot Cooney. Mr. Cooney, from the government side, in terms of helping and playing their role in organizing this peaceful protest, Can you say that the government did a good job in organizing the protest along with the COP?
Before I go to that point, let me just note a rare agreement between Dr. Kula and myself regarding the organization of the protest. As I've always maintained on this platform, that this group called COP really is a group that is not led by any principle. We are aware with all of the mixed messages that we got going into this protest. What happened today further confirmed, what I believe, that this is basically a hustle group. It is not a serious political group for one to look up to for political direction. Having said that, I would like to, by all account, I think the government demonstrated a higher level of flexibility, a higher level of responsibility today. If you review all of the activities that led to this protest, despite the disagreement between the COP and the government, when the COP assembled, the government was able to provide adequate security for all the protesters. And everybody can confirm that for a good time, for a greater portion of the day, the government was meeting its responsibility to let the people exercise their constitutional right. But like what was said earlier, you see, the danger we have is people telling our people that their right is so unlimited and it should be unregulated. I think this is a danger that we face. We'll discuss that in depth. You call for a protest. Protesters are there jubilating, and then all of a sudden, for God's sake, people cooking. And there are people who say that it doesn't matter.
We'll get into the details, Mr. Kone. We'll get into details. We wanted to know the role of all the parties to the protest, talking about the government, the COP.
I think the government performed admirably. They did a wonderful job.
Thank you. Dr. Kula, let me bring you in. I know you said that the organizers of the protest, the COP. Yeah.
Before you proceed, I want to acknowledge something here on Facebook. Okay. I don't want it to go unnoticed because the person who posted this is not a regular viewer. This is Chief Dete Colley. He's a colleague in this business and he's using foul language. So I want to call him out right away to say we don't allow this kind of language on this platform, Mr. Colley. We respect you and we want you to exhibit that same form of respect, not just for our guests, but also the platform here and also our viewers.
Thank you, Dennis, for pointing that out. And I think that is very significant because here at Focus on Liberia, we do not tolerate those kind of languages here. We discuss civilly, and that is what we do here in a responsible manner. And I will bring in you in, Dr. Kula. You just heard your comrade, Mr. Wilman Kone, saying that the government did an excellent job in helping to organize the protest because they had a responsibility to provide security, to agree that it is the right of the citizen to do so. Do you agree with him that they did a good job in playing their role?
Let me put it this way. The government had no choice but to allow the people to exercise their right to assembly. Now, these very same people have a precedent of having had a peaceful protest on June the 7th. So it was very easy for the government to just set up exactly what they set up before. But now where I feel the government went out of bounds and did wrong was that they were heavy-handed in breaking up the protest. There was no reason for them to break up the protest in the manner that they did, bringing out the water cannons, tear gas, chasing the people down, all the way down Camp Johnson Road, through alleyways, looking at people and saying, oh, you were there, come, are you under arrest? And searching cars and whatnot and doing all kinds of unnecessary stuff, over one issue, the fact that the people were cooking. Okay, if the people are cooking, you say it serves as a public safety problem. Well, just get an extinguisher, extinguish the thing, and remove it from there. But to go back after the discussion was held, I think the fire was cut off the first time when Moali intervened, and then I think later they put the fire back on the copot. It was not like on the ground; it was just a copot. In that case, just go back and turn it off. But the way they got ready and the
Dr. Kula.
Just 1 second, please. Let me finish my thought. The instructions they got seems like they were looking for any excuse to clamp down on the protesters and find a way to arrest those that organized it and basically just clamp down on free assembly, free speech, and whatnot. I think it's wrong, and I think we're going down a very terrible path because a lot of what I'm hearing on social media and in the Liberian communities where certain people are encouraging the government to be heavy-handed, to go down on people, to jail people and all of this, I think we're headed down the wrong path.
Thank you, Dr. Kula. And I was just trying to tell you, we will get to all the activities that happened today. We just want to start with the role of the institutions concerned in helping to make the protest possible. And Mr. Conan, let me come back to you. You said the government did a phenomenal job. This is the government we know from day one of this protest have made statements that suggest that they didn't want any protest at all. We heard a statement from Eugene Fagon that there could be an arrest warrant waiting for Costa. Once I think the Solicitor General made similar comment, so they didn't want this protest at all. So for you to say that the government did a phenomenal job suggests that, they wanted it in the first place and they were prepared for it. Somebody might think that is not the case. What will you say to that?
Yeah, well, let me go back to what Dr. Kula said. You see, look, as Liberians, for us to make progress, we have to realize that we exist in relative to position to one another. My assessment of the government performance today is precisely for the same reason that you've articulated. Here was a protest that officials of government and other functionaries of government had different misgivings about. In fact, there was a letter from the Justice Ministry indicating that this protest would not be held. But in the final analysis, the will of the people prevailed. And the government recognized that and decided to execute its obligations under the law. I reject the assertion that the government was looking for an excuse to disperse the protest. Mind you, this protest went on for close to over 10 hours before this event. Now, look, we owe it to our people to be truthful and to tell them the correct things. Those of us that live here, whenever there is a protest, there is also the understanding that you are obliged to obey all lawful orders. You can't go to a protest and the police pass an instruction to you, whether in Washington, D.C. or in Philadelphia, and you insist otherwise. Why should the issue of removing pass and other things even be a negotiation? From the moment the police said cooking was inappropriate, please put the fire off. I want to believe if responsible leadership was available, they would have taken up that issue and that issue would have been resolved. This is the pattern of irresponsibility I'm talking about. When you have an organization that is led by very irresponsible people, their entire agenda is to grandstand, using the people as some fodder to obtain what they want to obtain. The government was meeting its constitutional obligation of protecting the people. But for God's sake, I'm coming, let me learn, please. For God's sake, there are people who are saying that our country is so bad. So it doesn't matter even if people pass feces in front of the mansion, if people cook in it, if people naked themselves and take shower in front of the mansion. We should not subscribe to this kind of thing. We should encourage our people to exercise their right responsibly, the same way we demand government to exercise its obligation responsibly.
Thank you, Mr. Conan. I'm going to go back to Dr. Kula, but before I do, I need a yes or no answer from you. So in your opinion, the government did not do anything wrong, neither did the government provoke anything at all.
No, the government didn't carry the part to cook.
Okay, that's a no. All right, thank you. Again, folks, in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the protest. This is a post-protest analysis, and we have in the house Dr. Kula and Mr. Wimon Conan. Dennis Jia is also here.
As soon as, let me just find out something from Mr. Conan before you go to Dr. Kula.
Okay.
If we are using mixed messages to be a form of disorganization on the part of the COP, we also got mixed messages from the government. Wouldn't that also account for the government being disorganized?
There were mixed messages that came from the government, but notwithstanding, the government was focused on its obligation to the people. So when the protesters show up, the government was there, and the government made sure that no protester was harassed, and the protest was continuing. It was going on until this incident, which many of the supporters of the protest are saying is immaterial. You can cook anywhere you feel like cooking, and they're showing these ridiculous pictures of people cooking at protests, not even taking into account where those cooking was done. If they wanted to do that cooking, I want to believe maybe if the protest was done to Samuel Kine, those sport complex far, or maybe to the Anthony Stoneman Stadium, maybe, but it cannot be right at the gate of the presidential palace and the house and the home of the legislature. I don't care what anybody says. You cannot go to the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. and go put stove there because you got a right to protest, or go to the White House and go put start digging and cooking because you think that's your right to protest. But basically what I'm saying, we should inform our people that in as much as we are exercising our right, we are also on a
oh my God. Mm-hmm. We just lost our analyst right there. Dr. Kula, yeah. You can come in, and I'm sure you may have a serious disagreement with what Mr. Coney was saying.
Yeah, I always have disagreements with what Mr. Coney is saying. Mr. Coney keeps talking about speaking the truth, but he's not willing to speak the truth about the government. Nobody is saying, I don't know who he's having these conversations with about cooking in front of the mansion and the Capitol. Nobody is saying the protesters were right to cook in front of the mansion. Nobody is saying that they should exploit their right to protest. I'm saying that the government was heavy-handed in dealing with an issue which they said was a public safety issue of having a coal pot in front of the mansion. Okay, if that's your contention, why not take an extinguisher and extinguish the coal pot? Why bring a water cannon and have a police marching with batons, getting ready to disperse the crowd? It was an excuse to disperse the crowd. They already had plans. Either way, something was going to happen. I knew it because those people were intent on sleeping there. And I believe that the government did not want them to do that. And instead of saying, you know, we at a certain point in time, talk to the people and say, at a certain point in time, we need you to disperse. They, as soon as they had that cooking thing as an issue, they got called from the higher ups. They told them to go in with the water cannons, and they blasted the water cannons. Mr. Coney, I'm sure people don't go around urinating and defecating openly in Washington, D.C. or any city in this country, but they do it in Liberia. And I'm sure people in this country have addresses, but they don't have addresses in Liberia. And our governments, one after another, doesn't seem to care. So I beg you, please do not compare Washington, D.C. or America with Liberia. Liberia, as you know, has its issues, and it's still trying to come about. And nobody is saying that people should go and cook in front of the mansion. What I'm saying is, it does not take a water cannon to put out a coal pot. They could have extinguished the coal pot with a fire extinguisher and whatnot. But the reality is they were finding an excuse to disperse the crowd. They didn't know how to do it, and they got that one issue, and that one issue was the trigger. But I put a responsibility on the organizers, knowing that a lot of those who supported the government had beat the war drum, had tried to prevent this protest from going on, knowing that there would be some plan to either arrest the protesters or to disperse the crowd once that issue came up about the coal pot. The organizers, the chairman should have been notified, and somebody should have taken a stand and gotten that coal pot thing dealt with, because the International Human Rights Group, they were very disappointed because they were involved. They negotiated for about an hour about that coal pot issue, and they saw no reason why the government intervened and dispersed the crowd like they did, chasing them all the way past Camp Johnson Road, going in street corners, grabbing people and arresting them. It was unnecessary, Mr. Coney. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they were right to cook in front of the mansion, no more than I'm saying it's okay for somebody to urinate in Monrovia like they do regularly, or defecate in Monrovia like they do regularly.
All right. I think the cooking business already in the
So
discussion.
let me come in again.
Yeah, you come in. Let's discuss cooking. And just to give you a perspective, I want to show some pictures here because we're going to talk about cooking. So we see that there we have the crowd. We have the coal pots. We have the police. I heard the protester chanting, "We will cook." Then the water cannon.
All right. So, Mr. Coney, you just saw it right there. And before you come here, I want to add this. I don't know whether you have heard about what the international media is reporting as a result of this protest. Do you know? And if you do, go ahead and then make your point that you were about to make.
No, I've been at work, so I've not been able to follow the international reportage of this event. But I mean,
let me provide that for you. As of right now, what is on the international wire is that the government used force on peaceful protesters. The U.S. Embassy also made mention of that peaceful protesters were provoked by the police. The police went and used tear gas on them when in fact they were peaceful. That is what is in the international community, on the international wire right now. So the news is negative for the government, but you said here that the government did nothing wrong. Go ahead.
Well, listen, the government responsibility during protests is not only to protect the protesters, it's to also maintain public order. It's to also maintain law and order. And even by Dr. Kula's admission, the negotiation to move the pots to stop the cooking lasted for 1 hour. And by the pictures that Mr. Dennis showed, you see people chanting, "We'll cook, we'll cook, we'll cook," and all of these things. So there is also the responsibility of the government to maintain law and order during protests. What I'm saying, part of our engagement with our people is to also tell them that in as much as you have rights, there are also laws that govern the exercise of your rights. So I keep making a point. If you're in a protest and police say you cannot use this route, you cannot use the route. You shouldn't use that route. And I disagree that the government was looking for an excuse and using the cooking issue, as the excuse to disperse the crowd, because I believe if the government wanted to disperse the crowd, the government have so many legal options to put into play to disperse the crowd. There is nothing that in the Constitution that once crowd assembled, they're not supposed to leave the place where they assemble. It's not in the Constitution. There are laws that govern that. So if the government wanted to move the crowd, there are many legal ways that the government could have, dispersed the crowd. So I don't believe that the cooking was an excuse that they were looking for. I think it is the irresponsible attitude of the leaders to prevail on the protesters to remove that incident that the police found at the time to be anti-public safety. I think that what led to that incident.
Thank you. And do you have a question for Dr. Kule, Mr. Kone?
A question for him?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a question for him. I was just clarifying. I was just reacting to what he said.
All right. Dr. Go ahead.
Coney seems to be going around. Oh, you don't think it was an excuse? Oh, the government could have come with so many ways. Yeah, the government could have come with any and anything. Disorderly conduct. Oh, even stuff that not on the books that we don't even know about. Oh, you're not supposed to be here at the Capitol after 7, whatever. But the reality is the government used that particular issue as an excuse to disperse the crowd, and they did it very heavy-handedly. They did not need to use a water cannon to put out coal pots. And that's what Mr. Coney keeps avoiding. Mr. Coney, it doesn't take, if you are grilling in a park and the police officer tell you to turn off the grill, he is not going to call the fire department to come and hold you down to turn off a grill. The only people that they hose down were people in Birmingham in the 60s and whatnot with water hoses. Here you are, you have your government hosing down peaceful citizens because they were cooking. It doesn't look good. Amnesty International has this information. Other organizations have this information. It doesn't look good for the government. I think the government blundered. They were heavy-handed. Speak to that, please.
Dr. Kula, look, you're entitled to all your passions and all your opinions. But you were not on the same to know what assessment the security made at the time. You were not there. You and I were speaking from afar. You were not on the same to make what went into their assessment. And I'm not bothered about what Amnesty International say or what other people say. They've always said those things. That's their job to say those things. Just like you are a doctor and nobody should just, without knowing the exact circumstances, you go to question a procedure. You were not on the scene to know what threat were being assessed. You didn't know what led to the decision that was made. The fact of the matter is you had an irresponsible group who believe that the right to protest is unlimited, is unregulated. They put that in the minds of citizens, and this is what is leading the country down that path. You are right. No, even if it is enshrined in the Constitution, it's exercised relative to other people's rights. The Constitution don't have only Article 17. They got Article 13. They got Article 18. They got all of those articles. But when you put in people's mind that they have this unlimited power to achieve what they can really achieve, what they cannot achieve it. You're creating a friction for conflict. That's the point I'm making.
Thank you. Again, folks, in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia, and we are having a post-protest analysis. Dennis?
Yeah, let's look at this, and I want Dr. Kula to respond. I know the cooking was well calculated and planned. I don't know how they factor in that you've been supporting the protest from day one. And will you say that, was that something that you advised? Two, when Mr. Costa had a press conference, he talked about that they bought bread first, they bought sausages, and they were going to do that. And after that, they were going to cook rice. I mean, I'm wondering what thought was put into that. And if you agree that this was wrong for them to go there and cook, what else you wanted the government to do? Or what do you intend has limited force? Because the issue was not just putting off COPAT. They said they were going to cook and they were determined to cook. What could the government have done, in your opinion?
Mr. John, let me put it this way. These people had indicated they were going to cook, they were going to sleep there, they brought their food, they brought their pots. At no time, as they went through with their pots, did the government say anything that they couldn't cook. At no time throughout this whole negotiation process did the Justice Ministry say, like here in America, they'll tell you it's a fire ordinance, and you know the various ordinances of the fire marshal code, the fire marshal will come out. Liberia does not have such a system.
Dr. Kula, you don't support the cooking. What are you justifying?
No, listen.
Oh my God!
It's not that I don't support the cooking. It's the fact that what I've said here is this: that they were cooking, and they were asked to turn it off, right? Because of a public ordinance or because of public safety issue. They should have turned it off. The people, the people, the organizers should have turned it off. I'm not justifying, I'm explaining to you the circumstances in Liberia. Nobody told them they couldn't cook, okay? So at the point in time now that you come and tell them, say, okay, don't cook, or you cannot cook here, I don't think it was right the way they stopped it. There was no reason to use water cannons to put out a coal pot. That's the point I'm making. So I don't understand what your question is.
Did you know that they were going to cook? Did you know that?
Did I know that?
Yeah.
All of Liberia knew that. They said it. In fact, Yankee Caldwell showed the pots. He showed the pots that he had bought. They talked about it.
No, so you mean that was part of the plan that was given to government? Because
I don't know if it was part of the plan that was given to government because I'm not part of the COP. But I know from listening to Liberian radio that they discussed cooking. They discussed carrying a coal pot there. They discussed that. It was in the public domain. So it wasn't something strange. And they walked past, according to Costa today, they walked past the police officers. The police officers saw their coal pots, their pots, the sausages and stuff that they bought, and they didn't bother them. They didn't stop them and say, oh, you can't cook here. They didn't. I can understand, like, if it was in this country, you walk in with something like that, and they checking everybody, they were checking bags and everything. They're checking everybody. They would tell you, say, oh, you can't take that in there. You're not allowed to cook up here.
As you said, they took over an hour negotiating this. So at what point would they know that they are not supposed to be cooking?
No, Dennis, you're talking two different things here. If I come to a protest and I have a pot and I have a coal pot and I'm going to cook and you're searching my bags, you let me in. You don't tell me anything about no cooking business. I start cooking now, then all of a sudden you say, oh, don't cook here. You can't cook here. We got order from higher up. You can't cook here. There's no way you can cook here. That's how they do things in Liberia, arbitrarily. They don't do things systematically. If it was in this country, had people been walking in with those coal pots, they would have told them, no, you can't take this coal pot in. You cannot cook here. They searched everybody before they got in. It was after the people started cooking that they said to them, all of a sudden they said to them, oh, you can't cook here. Then it became a negotiation where people said, no, we're going to cook. Then I saw Mo Ali talking to them and said, let's cut it off. They cut it off. And apparently after they cut it off, they turned it back on. Then it became a disaster after that. That's the problem with Liberia. We do things arbitrarily. They should have told the people when they started people carrying the coal pot in that you cannot cook it. Finish.
Dennis, can I come in?
Sure.
I love Dr. Kula. At one point, he compares us to America, but when I do similar comparison, he rejects that. Listen, again, Dr. Kula, you and I were not on the scene to know what goes into the assessment of the security forces that were on the ground. Yes, they may have seen people entering the protest ground with parts and other things like that, but that may have, at the point they saw them, you don't know what assessment they made. And mind you, pots are being used before in Liberian protests, but not for cooking, but sometimes for people to just use it to make noise. So this is not the first time pots were shown or pots appear in a protest. So the fact that somebody carrying pot, doesn't necessarily mean that the person is going to cook, because those things have entered protest before and no one cooked. So that's not the point. The point I'm making.
Pot and cold pot, that don't mean you're gonna cook. Cold pot and cold. I mean you're not gonna cook. You can't pot and cold to knock.
Exactly. Those things. I'm telling you, those things have appeared in different other protests where people did not cook. Okay. And the protests were not even entering a confined area where they were one by one. No,
they were.
Dr. Kula, let him land. Dr. Kula, let him land.
That had the police, and before you got through to get between the mansion and the Capitol, you had to be searched before you got through. There was a blockage down from the mansion going down. There was a blockage on the other side. So everybody was searched before they got into the place.
So
yeah, Dr. Kula, let him land.
What I'm saying, we have a responsibility. I speak to the larger issue. Dr. Kula can talk about all these excuses that the people carry part.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you.
What I'm saying, Dr. Kula, will you let me learn, please? Sometimes you just got to let me learn. What I'm saying is we have to be very realistic. Look, this is not about protest. Like I said the other day, this is not about protest. This is not about people meeting to present their grievances. to pass instructions to petition the government as the constitution called for. Sooner than later, the Liberian people will begin to understand the strategic nature of this kind of political activity. It's not in any exercise or economic or constitutional right. It is an exercise to create the appearance of ungovernability in that country, to break the system down so that governance can no longer continue in the way it is continuing, for another arrangement to emerge. Because if you listen to the protesters throughout, they keep quoting the Article 17, Article 17. Which part of the Article 17 that say the president must appear to receive your petition? Which part of the Article 17 says that you have to remain in the street until the person you gave your grievances to answer it? Which part of the you are required to present your petition? Whether it is answered the way you want it to be answered, the only recourse you have is to vote people out of office who ignore your petition, who ignore your instruction. That's how we function in a democracy. But people continue to tell other Liberians that they have this imaginary power, that unless their grievances are held, there is something that they can do. These are the people that are leading our country to violence.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Mr. Kony. Thank you. Let's take a step back and go to the message.
What you're spewing here is conspiracy theories. That's all you're spewing. Conspiracy theories. No. In a democracy, people have the right to protest.
Dr. Kula, we are about to move to another segment of our discussion. Dr. Kula, again, folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. As you can see, this conversation is going so interestingly. My name is Anthony Sia, co-hosting with Dennis Jha today, and we are having a very, very critical discussion on the protest. This is a post-protest analysis. We have Dr. Kula in the house and we have Mr. Kony in the house. These two gentlemen don't seem to see eye to eye, but they are our analysts and we are here. Gentlemen, we have to move to another segment. Before we do, Mr. Kony, you were saying earlier,
I was trying to make a point.
Nowhere in the Constitution that, the Constitution requires people to be in the street until the president or somebody from government can receive their petition. The Constitution is clear that the people have the right at all times. So the Constitution does not limit them. They can be there as long as they want. There's nowhere in the Constitution that say you can't be here for the length of time. No, but we have to leave it there, Mr. Kony and Dr.
No, I have to push back.
Another segment. You will put back when we get to the other segment. We're going by time here. We're going by time here. We'll go into the messaging and the negotiation aspect of the entire protest. At some point, they were back and forth. The Interreligious Council came in, the international community stepped in, and then messages started changing here and there. And at the end of the day, we had the protest today. So let's go into the messaging aspect of it. And starting with you, Mr. Kony, and then you can have the opportunity to say why you wanted to say. The political parties, let's start with political parties. The CPP, or all the political parties that are not part of the ruling coalition, unlike June 7, many of them either spoke against the protest or decided to be neutral. What does that say about the entire protest and also the messaging of the organizers of the protest, the COP?
Well, what the political party did was just complete deception. It was not something, they didn't truly want to disassociate from the protest, but it was an action that it took to create plausible deniability. It was not a true meaning of, the COP is increasingly becoming a militant wing of opposition parties. The kind of outfit that will do all of the outrageous things while opposition politicians stay clean. That's what the COP is. So don't give a grain of salt to what the opposition parties are saying. They all support the COP. They support the agenda of the COP, but at the same time, they want to remain clean. They don't want to get into the mud. That's the whole strategy. But back to the point I was making. Look, like I said, Liberians behave as if to say Article 17 is the only article in our Constitution. The people got it right at all time to remain in the street at all time. How about Article 18 that guarantee the people the right to work every day? How about Article 13 that guarantee freedom of movement? How about all of these articles? So if the conclusion is that because Article 17 says you got the right to be in the street so that people will go and occupy the street at all times without limitation, if that is the interpretation of that article, then I feel sorry for our country. But I think what the article tried to say is to recognize the rights of Liberia to hold their government accountable by presenting petition, by passing instruction to their representatives. And the recourse the Liberian people have if these petitions are not resolved is the Article 1 power to go to elections and elect leaders. Similarly, this is why you see here. Do you know how many things the American people want that politicians are not enacting? Everybody want background check. Everybody want this. These are things that the American people want. But the only way the American people will get these things is if they vote into office politicians that share their view. The idea that it is the meaning of our constitution that Liberians can remain in the street and push for a political outcome, like the removal of the president, and they can remain there until the president leave office. I don't think that's the spirit and the intent of the Constitution. I strongly disagree. And those who are advocating that theory are the people that are advocating chaos in the country. Because the people don't have that power. They don't have that power to bring down a government. They don't have that power to force a government to do what the government don't want to do, besides elections, besides holding the government accountable democratically. That's the point I'm making.
Dr. Kula, we are talking about the messaging, and if you want to give yourself a few seconds to respond to Mr. Cooney, you are also welcome. But we are talking about the messaging. Again, unlike June 7, the political parties didn't give that full endorsement to the COP, and to add to that, is the COP like a political party operating in disguise?
The COP has made it clear to us they're not a political party and they don't want to be a political party. But what they are is that they're made up of people who are members of political parties. Now, what Wilmer Pay did the night before the protest, he almost like sabotaged the protest by the statement that he made. So for Mr. Coney to talk about plausible deniability, I don't think Wilmer Pay works for the CIA or some intelligence agency or country like the US or West Germany to have plausible deniability after doing something. I mean, what I know is that perhaps the political parties, because a lot of their members are in the COP, could say, let's sit back and not do anything to make it seem like it's political parties involved. But the reality is a lot of these political parties, whether the ANC, whether the UP, they send a lot of mixed messages. They seem to undermine and undercut the COP and whatnot. But Mr. Coney, just because we're in Liberia, and because our governments over the years have not been receptive to our people and don't speak to the needs of our people, doesn't mean that the kind of government that we have, which is the democracy, doesn't allow for people to demand that their governments do stuff, regardless of whether it's through elections or regardless of whether it's through disobedience. You're sitting here today, Mr. Coney. You are enjoying the civil rights disobedience, the civil rights movement. They disobeyed laws. They protested for rights that you enjoy, that you take for granted. They didn't have, most of them didn't have the power to vote. They were cheated. So they protested. They did things to get those rights to vote. But besides voting, they protested so that things could be changed. Right now, the Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter forced people to resign whenever Black people were killed. They forced the hands of local governments to fire police chiefs or fire police officers and whatnot. So yes, you can affect change through disobedience. You can do that. Don't make our people feel like they don't have the power. Our people have the power to make that government do things. In Puerto Rico, a democracy, they stayed in the square until their governor came down. Why? Because of what he did. They didn't go to elections. You keep talking about interim government, interim arrangement. Everything does not have to be interim arrangement. If these people are not in the streets because they want an interim arrangement, they want their government to speak to their needs. They want their president to speak to their needs.
Okay, can I come in? Can I come in?
Yeah, let me give you this question and you can come in, all right? And the question is, from the way you're presenting your analysis, it seems to me, and it's just my read, and I can be wrong, that the protesters seems not to have, burning reasons to stay in the street as they have planned to do so. Am I reading that right?
No, you're reading it wrong.
All
and
right.
Dr. Kula is also reading it wrong.
Okay.
No one is against protest. No one is saying that people cannot protest. And all of the examples he made, the protesters did not achieve those results by remaining in the street until it was done. The protest,
yes, they did. In Puerto Rico, yes, they did.
Can you give me
other
just let me learn, man? The protest, they organized, they elected people. This is the sustaining power of our democracy. Any Liberian that here today that a government can fall through public protest, you are prescribing our country to a failed state because you are setting a dangerous precedent. I'm saying politicians must be accountable. I'm saying politicians should listen to the people. But I'm saying the way to do that is to bring your grievances, to create awareness, you use your Article 1 power. This is what our Constitution says. I don't care what Puerto Rico say. Article 1 power is in the Constitution, that the only way we change government in our country is either through elections or through impeachment. The opposition parties that are members of the COP, they control supermajority of the legislature. They control supermajority of the legislature. If they feel that the president is so incompetent, if they feel that our people are suffering so much, what is wrong with the impeachment power? Why are they not invoking it? It is less of less problematic than the cause that people are putting people on. That the people can get into the street and they can remain there until they achieve some result. That cause, my warning is that cause is violent prone. It's violent prone. If you look at the history of African politics, and I'm offering that if the COP, the opposition people, the fact that they control legislature, if the president is incompetent, invoke the impeachment power. I say wait for election. The way to change our government is in the Constitution. I'm not talking about Puerto Rico.
Mr. Cooney.
Yeah.
You seem to suggest that you like protest. You don't have problem with protest, but at the same time you're saying don't protest, go to the ballot box or go impeach. And
no.
Again, what you are alluding to is wish that the protesters are going to stay in the street until the president comes down. I think the protesters have long reneged on that call for the president to step down. So
okay,
let's talk about protests within the framework of protest. I mean, people have the right to protest. I don't know why you keep questioning that and keep referring them to the question.
I'm not.
Yeah, but you seem to be so.
Dennis,
Mr. Cooney, let him land. Mr. Cooney, let him land with his question.
It's a matter of preference. If the people have the right to protest, why can't they? Why you keep referring them to impeachment or elections?
Oh, I mean, the end of protesting. I'm saying their goals are not attainable. Their goal is violent prone. That's my assessment. Their goal is not attainable. Their goal is violent prone. It will bring violence in our country.
Because
I'm giving a path of least violence. I'm giving a path of least violence. And I believe in protest. I told you.
And what history are you pointing to be, emphasizing the violent prone? What history, recent history, can you point to?
Oh, we say Samuel Domo Kanda. What did we see?
That is more than 30 years ago. Can you point to something maybe 3-4 years
ago? When we say Samuel Domo come down, there was violence that followed that.
Mr. Cooney, can you point to something 2, 3, 4 years ago?
Mr. Cooney, at the time Samuel Doe came down protest, there was already war.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop the violence from following the countdown.
No, but you are talking about it being the one that caused the violence.
No, I'm not saying it caused the violence. I say those kind of protests usually lead to violence. I didn't say that what caused the violence. You see?
Yeah,
No,
but then
but
that
there
is
was
not,
violence.
that's not a good example.
Okay. So this is what I'm saying. That's my analysis of events in Liberia. I believe that our democracy would be better the most if we use the existing channels in our constitution that call for the change of governance. That's my position. If there are other people here, other Liberians who believe that we can effect political change in our country, especially the change of leadership through street protests, they are welcome to do that. We just disagree.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
What's about the change of policies of government? What's about yeah, you can mount pressure through protest to have certain changes in government. For instance,
this is why I find this protest very unnecessary, because
that's another issue though.
But let's say this is why I find this protest very unnecessary, because the opposition controls parliament. They can make any and all laws to hold the executive accountable.
Opposition control
All
parliament.
right,
You have a
Dennis.
CDC guy as speaker. Mr. Coney,
Then you ask the opposition
with yourselves, man. You
You
know
can't-
our system doesn't work. You know that that's a rubber stamp legislative branch. You know that
So we burn it down. We set fire to it and burn it down.
among themselves, even though
Gentlemen.
supposedly in the majority, they got one chief as speaker and they got one other guy named as pro temp.
So we burn it down, right?
They go there as individuals. They don't even deal with their parties. You know that.
Gentlemen, again, folks in cyberspace.
He's not suggesting that we burn it down, but now that's why they are using protests as an alternative to mount the pressure on all the branches of government.
Yeah.
The protest is not all no. Then now you say we should be honest and let that Okula be honest. The protest is not on the branches of government. The protest is on the president. All the legislators are on vacation.
And they want to do it that way.
Also on other branches of government.
Dr. Kula, please.
Let's go to something else.
All the legislators are on vacation. All the judges are on vacation. The only person we see in this whole process is the president. He is the only one that must be.
Mr. Kone, let's go to something that you raised, and that is very important. It seems to be that the issue of protest as a means of pressure in government or change in government, you kick against it. So let's go to the option that you love, the option of impeachment. The way the legislature works is that to even start an impeachment proceeding, it must be something the speaker must agree to.
No, I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah.
Okay, then explain how it works if you disagree.
It can be started by impeachment, can be done in the House of Representatives with majority of members of the House of Representatives. The article can be put on the floor, and the majority vote for it. The president is impeached. And in the House of Representatives, the CDC got less than 20 members that were elected. You got 53 other members that are there. In the House of Senate, the CDC, to the best of my collection, got maybe about 3 senators. You got 27 other senators that are there. So those senators who convict, again, if the body of evidence support all of these things, they can convict and remove the president and will go through a constitutional path. Why are we putting our people on a confrontational path to change government when we have a constitutional path to do so? That's my question.
Mr. Kune, I had the privilege of interviewing a couple of representatives right here on this show. And all of them told me that if you even have that, it's not even going to go on the floor. And you know as well as I know that throughout our history, we have not had that equal and distinct branches of government. So the citizens now, let's believe that COP is the citizens' action. So because they don't have faith in their elected officials as well, and you keep pointing them to go back. And when I interview some legislators here, they say they have tried all that, it doesn't work. Their issues don't even come on the floor because the speaker and also the pro tem are all rubber stamp of the president. That's
okay. So Dennis, quickly. So if we leave that aside and assume that we are successful in changing the president, we put a new president with the same scenario, the same dynamic still existing. So then the new way we change president now is through mass protest. That's my question. Is
No,
through mass protest?
I don't think the protest now is about changing president, and you keep making reference to the COP had long reneged on that.
Okay, so who some of these, this is what I'm saying. Some of the demands that the COP are making, these things could be achieved legislatively. The legislature we have, according to you, and according to all of us here, the legislature is a failed legislature. What I'm saying is we need time, we need to work hard for us to elect the kind of legislature that work for the people. This is the way we make long-term gain. That's my point.
Let's bring Dr. Kula in. Dr. Kula, I must say I disagree with Mr. Kunin that the House of Representatives can initiate an impeachment proceeding when the speaker does not bring that on the floor. I disagree and I maintain that. But let me
they do have discharge petition. They do have discharge petition.
Do you agree with Mr. Kunin's assessment, Dr. Kula, that it is possible in this kind of legislature with a speaker, Buffer Chimwa, who is a sedition, to initiate an impeachment proceeding?
Mr. Kunin knows that's not going to happen. He knows it. But with everything in Liberia, we never look at the problem and say, this is the problem. We look at the person who raised the problem and say, he's the problem. That's what Mr. Kunin is doing. And he also wants us to say that if you raise anything about protest, somehow it's going to bring about violence and somehow it's unachievable. Our people are so weak, they have no power, they've never had any power. So protest is a failed approach. They shouldn't go that route. Okay? These guys just want to cower our people into everybody just keep it silent and allowing our government to continue to be mismanaged. Nobody is talking about removing any government through protest and bringing an interim government. I gave you an example of Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is a US state which has a democracy like ours. There are other democracies that have had protests and their governments, their presidents have resigned. Okay, even in this country, they didn't have to protest, but they had presidents resign because of certain issues. But our president doesn't even want to speak to his people. That's how respectful he is out to our people and say our people as nothing, that you cannot speak to them. You can only speak to people who you agree with. And I don't agree with that. I think that, one, we can have protests where the people voice their opinions. The only problem I had with the protest today is that the organizers didn't have control over it. They didn't have speeches so that the average Liberian could voice what their hurts are, what they need their president to do, and have these guys go over what they need their president to do so that we can be reminded of why they're protesting. That's the only problem I have with it. But I don't think it should be an either or situation that you either protest or you go through the legislative branch for impeachment and what have you.
Dr. Kula. Hold on, Mr. Kuni. Let me ask Dr. Kula a question. Dr. Kula, from the beginning, you alluded to the fact that the organizers were disorganized, their messaging was poor, and they made a lot of mistakes. Protesting is good, it's constitutional. But when you agree now that because of the flaws of the COP, they are not the right people to do this, and if people like you who agree with the protest, why can't you be part of the organization? Why you keep using or putting your faith in COP when you know very well that they are organized, they are bad on messaging, and they are making a lot of mistakes?
Okay, first of all, let's correct this. I'm not putting my faith in COP. COP took upon themselves to do something for our people, to speak on behalf of our people, to petition our government on behalf of our people. Okay, we have 2 legislators that are in COP, and maybe I think more. But those legislators are coming outside and speaking along with COP because they see that within the legislative branch, they're stifled. They can't bring their issues to the floor. They can't discuss certain issues. They never get to put things on the agenda. So therefore, these individuals have come forth. Now, will they make mistakes? Yes, they've made mistakes. Okay, what does that mean? Do I get up now and go and say I'm going to be part of them to organize them? I don't have any interest in doing that. I have my way of trying to petition this government to do the right things, and I'll keep doing it my way. But right now we're discussing what COP did and their lapses, and that's how I see it. I think we should be allowed to protest. And I also agree with Mr. Coney that we should change those that are in the legislative branch that are not working for our people. We can do both. It doesn't have to be either or. Now, what I see going to happen here and what these guys are trying to do, what Coney, people like Moses, what a man named, he used to be with Sylvester Moses, used to be with Dole. These guys are encouraging Weah to clamp down on protests. There should be no more protests in the country. He should be strong and just run the country as he feels. Nobody should get in the streets anymore. This is what they've been pushing for long. Now, right now, as we're speaking, do you guys know that Yeke Koluba has been set up? They claimed Spaghetti claimed he found gun in the car that they impounded from the whatchamacallit. Now they're going to try to get Yeke Koluba. We cannot continue to keep playing these games where every time we have a president, that president tries to clamp down on free speech, on free assembly, and tries to clamp down on his critics. We cannot run a democracy like that. That's how I see it.
Dennis?
Let's welcome our man Ellis Chuchu Jones, who's just joining us. He's the editor of the Business and Economic Forum. I will come to you, Mr. Cooney. Let me welcome my man Ellis Jones. Mr. Jones, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Welcome to this special edition where we are doing a post-protest analysis.
Well, good job, Mr. Dennis and Mr. C and the two wonderful panelists. I've been listening in, and I was wondering why you coming.
There's feedback from you, so make a judgment there. Made a little bit of judgment there, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. So just give me a little minute.
So we go to Mr. Cooney while Alex makes some adjustment. Mr. Cooney.
Yeah, Dennis, I'm laughing because, Dr. Kula quick to complain that I put words in his mouth, but he keeps saying things that he doesn't even have any factual account about. But, that's besides the point. The point that I'm making, look, I've been in the struggle all my life. I've sacrificed my career for the struggle. I've sacrificed several things personally for the struggle.
What is this struggle?
The struggle for civil liberties, the struggle for constitutional rights, all of those things, the struggle for democracy. At a very early age, we started our sacrifice and our contribution to that process. So sometimes we come to this discussion, with all of those things in mind. And again, the point I'm making is that we have a choice as a people to either sustain our democracy or to short circuit the democracy. And this is this is the argument I'm making. I'm not against the right of people to protest, but again, I'm saying the protest must have a purpose. The protest must have a political goal. And we must know, we should be aware of what we can gain politically. This is the point I'm making. All of the things that Okula talking about, they really don't bother me. Sometimes you come to these discussions, people with no history of struggle, they overcompensate themselves in these kind of discussions, So what I'm saying again, I maintain that the way we strengthen our democracy is to get down to do the hard work. The hard work that the COP and other people don't want to do is to educate, to conscientize our people, to make them aware of what elections mean, to elect people that represent us, and for us to move those people out of office if they don't represent us. That is the long-term gain our democracy can have. This whole notion that we can demand, I'm not saying nobody can demand, you can demand all you want. The Constitution says pass your instruction to your representatives. They needed to pass those instructions on. The Constitution says give your petition. Now, beyond that, the Constitution don't tell you how your petition is supposed to be handled. Okay. So if you begin to arrogate to yourself what the Constitution don't give you, then this is where the friction is coming from. And that's the point I'm making. That is the point I'm making. I'm not saying don't hold your government accountable. I'm saying let us do it within the parameters set by our constitution. We got Article 17, we got Article 1, we got Article 13, we got Article 18. Liberian people, they have the right to go to work. They have the right to carry their children to school. They have the right to live peacefully. We can't allow one group of people to say that they will paralyze that country entirely until their demand that they don't have any other leverage of somebody meeting until the media demand. Anybody that gave that prescription, they are giving a prescription for potential violence.
Thank you.
I stand by that.
Thank you. Let's bring in Mr. Alex Chuchu June for his assessment of today's protest. Alex, we have covered enough grounds now, so your turn to give us your perspective on the protest today.
Mr. Jones, we can't hear you. Go ahead.
Back to you, Mr. CA, while he adjusts.
All right, again, folks, in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. I'm co-hosting with Dennis today, and this is a post-protest analysis. And this is what we are discussing. While Mr. June is making adjustment, let me remind you that we will be moving into another segment of the conversation, looking at winner and loser. Mr. Jones, are you set to make your initial contribution?
None yet.
Mr. Jones seems not to be set there. I'll come back to you, Dr. Kula. So
yeah, I can hear you. Just give me 1 minute, please, Mr. Sear.
Okay. So, Dr. Kula, we all follow the protest today. Are there winners? Are there losers? And if so, who are they?
I think like I said the other day, there are no winners. We all lost. I mean, the government lost terribly because the PR for them is bad. I mean, they were heavy-handed on a very peaceful protest. If it was about public safety and the fire being lit to cook, they could cut it off a different way. They didn't have to use cannons. They didn't have to chase the people down all the way Camp Johnson Road, whipping them and arresting them. They didn't have to go as far as planting guns in Yeke Koluba's car, to the point now where the next thing we're going to have is they're going to try to arrest Yeke Koluba. We're going to end up with some fake trial, and perhaps they might even go as far as having him convicted and go to jail. We can't go through these processes every time because you want to clamp down on free speech, free movement, free assembly. We can't have that. And I think the problem is a lot of these propaganda guys in the West, in America, that are on Facebook and telling the government, do this and do that. Don't let nobody protest. Jail those guys. I will kill them. And these are the ones that are leading the country astray. These are the ones that are leading the president astray. These are the ones that are causing violence. To me, peaceful protest, Mr. Coney, the last time you were here, you said if I was a government, I'll let it stay there forever. Now your whole voice has changed. They had a peaceful protest. Those people wanted to stay there, and all they want to do was hear their president. They didn't want to remove their president, but this fear can lead people to do things that they have no business doing. And I think the government in place right now is moved by fear and moved by reaction. They're very reactionary. And that's the problem. So I don't think there are any winners at all. I don't think so.
Dr. Kuba, you keep making these allegations and
very unsubstantiated. I don't know where you get your story from, but you present them as facts.
What allegations? What allegations?
What evidence?
The bomb was planted in Mr. Yeke Koluba's car. Do you have proof? You also say there are people here on the social media advising the president to jail people, to clamp down on protests and all that.
Yes. There are people like Michael Gilman, Prince Sharif, and others of the persuasion of the CDC that have been telling the president to clamp down on free speech and to jail Costa. In fact, Michael Gilman was disappointed that Costa was not jailed. And as far as Yeke Koluba's car is concerned, did you not see the press briefing that Patrick Sudu had? You didn't see that? It was on Facebook.
Did he say he put a gun there?
Patrick Sudu had a press briefing. Let me finish, please, Mr. Security Man. Patrick Sudu had a press briefing today where they claim that in front of the press, they found guns, a pistol in Yeke Koluba's car, and they show it, right? But here's the thing, you know, I'm not in security, but Mr. Coney will know that who has the means, motive, and opportunity. When they arrested Yeke Koluba's car at the scene, the very car that they arrested, thank God for video, that everybody has a video camera. They checked that car, right? And all they found in the car was water. They impounded the car right there on the spot. I don't know what they did with the guy who was driving it, arrested him or roughed him up or whatever, but all of that is on video. And then they took the car to the central police station. Okay, they had the cars there all this time since they dispersed the crowd. Then later on, they called the journalists and said, "Come, y'all see why we're searching here? Look here. Oh, we found a pistol here. Come on, man. You know, we're more educated than that. We're more sensible than that to just sit there and think that, oh, Yeke Koluba will be stupid enough to go to a protest, carry a gun in his car. The very car that was searched before he parked the car there, it was searched again after the crowd was dispersed, and then the police had possession of that particular car for all that evening, that somehow, you know, it wasn't planted.
I get your point, but those are still assumptions.
You know, Dennis, Dr. Kula come here and make all kinds of assumptions and throw accusations around as if he's some a bit of truth. He's here on the same propaganda. He's a senior supporter of the COP. All he does is spew COP talking points here, and you throw all these false charges around. But you know, like I said, he's free to do that.
Mr. Coney, how you know that they are free charges?
Huh?
How do you know that these are talking point and free charges?
But the man just accused me without any evidence that I'm one of those who telling the president to clamp down on the Liberian people. What evidence did he provide?
So you follow his path.
You understand? No, I'm not accusing of anything. I say he just freely throwing around charges because, you know, you think he can articulate these things.
Right,
but what I'm saying it is, as much as Dr. Kula like to name other Liberians, I'm just saying that it is people who begin or people who get in a habit of telling our people that their rights, the rights are unlimited and they can exercise it in whatever way they choose, are the people that are leading our country to violence. Those people who supporting that people are supposed to cook, they can easily justify why somebody is supposed to defecate there because defecation going around all Monrovia. They can justify why somebody is supposed to take a shower there because there is no bathroom in Monrovia. These are the people that are stifling our democracy. The purpose of Article 17, in my opinion, is very clear: to assemble, to present your petition, to instruct your representatives to petition your government, to do it in an orderly manner. All of the other things that Dr. Kula referred to about Black Lives Matter, yeah, the people protest. But when they protest, they organize, they engage the political process. That's how they get results. If a local police chief fires somebody because of that, it is only because that police chief is answerable to a mayor who knows that he relies on the voters for his political power. This is the long-term political approach we are pushing. And you can characterize it as a support for George Weah. Liberia will survive.
Mr. Coney, can I throw something in there so you can explain it?
Let's Alice. We have Alice to come in. Mr. Coney, let Alice come in before that.
I've been listening to the co-part and the food and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I have a question which I think took most of the show. I think what I'm interested in is what's the future of Liberia? Where do we go from here? And what are protests or who won, who lost? You know, where do we go from here? How do, you know, are the problems, economic problems, are going to be solved? Are people going to get the jobs and be paid? Are children going to go to school and get a good education to guarantee a future? So whether or not, you know, one side won the other side didn't. Or so that's my question tonight. What are Liberians doing to secure a better future for peace and sustained development?
And let's start with Dr. Kula to answer that. Can we find that answer through the COP protest?
I believe that in any democracy, if your people have a problem and they petition you, it's incumbent upon you to speak to their needs. And I believe that protest is one way we can get that achieved. The other way is what Mr. Coney suggests, that you go about educating our people and you take the long-term approach like it's done here in America, where our officials eventually become accountable to us. But immediately, as it stands right now, we have an inflation problem. We have an economic problem. There was a girl on a show that I watched earlier today where one of these fellows were trying to spin for the government. And it just so happened he couldn't clip the girl out of the video. And the girl said, I voted for Weir. I'm a sedition, as they call themselves. I'm a sedition. But here we are, we go to school, we don't have jobs. I had to open a little business and still the business is not working because there's not enough people to buy. The people don't have jobs. We can't send our children to school. We want the president to answer to us. What is his vision for our country? What is he going to do about the economy? That's what the people are saying. And I don't care how you clamp down on them. At the end of the day, you got to answer that question. You got 4 more years to be president. You got to answer them one way or another. You either going to lead or you have to leave. And the people are not saying leave right now, but if you can't do the job, leave, you know? But the fact is somebody has to make it happen. And the president in our democracy is the one that has to make it happen. And if it means that pressure is going to be bared on him, on the legislative branch and others, that's what we have to do. I mean, all hands on deck.
All right, gentlemen, we have callers that have been waiting for so long. We will go to our phone lines and bring in.
When are you not coming to me? You just go to callers?
Yeah, the callers are part of the show, Mr. Coney. We'll come back to you.
Mr. Coney.
I'm getting to notice the Georgia bias that you keep doing to me on the show. You go to Dr. Kula, and then after him, you say, okay, we're going to a call.
Mr. Coney, we try to be fair yet. We have a caller phone number anywhere. 9014. Caller, your name, where you calling us from?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, my dear brother, Mr. C, Mr. Ja, Alex, and Mr. Connor and the Dr. Kula. Quickly, my name is Macaulay Ulay. I'm calling from Minnesota. My point I'm trying to make here is, look, in law, I'm not a legal scholar or even a lawyer, but in law, there's something they call intent. We all understand we can easily establish what the intent of those guys that are leading COP is. COP chairperson is a member of the All Liberian Coalition Party. The Secretary General is the Secretary General for Unity Party. But the director don't come from the Liberty Party. We know these are opposition political parties trying to metamorphosize into something else and trying to be like they are a rights advocate. Those people are not rights advocates. Let us be very earnest about the situation. We have a very dire economic situation in our country. To remedy that situation is to send out a good message that the country is peaceful and is open for doing business. Those guys, they continue insistent habit of trying to make the country look bad, ungovernable, unpeaceful, will continue to prolong the people's economic state right now. And they are not helping. But it's not an intention to help the people. The intention is to just make the government to look ugly and probably in their own fantasy to think that will help them go forward. That's why I admire the question asked by Brother Alex. What's the way forward? With this protest or continuous protest kind of providing opportunities that our people need? No. But those guys are not fighting for the people. Henry Costa is on record. We all listen to him clearly soliciting bribe from the previous government. These are extortionists. These are self-seeking individuals.
Mr.
But you know, Dr. Kula can say all he wants to say. I respect him, I admire him, but the truth is, we all know the intent of the guy. Those are not rights advocates, those are not civil rights leaders, those are opposition political party leaders.
Thank you, Mr. Wula.
Mr. Wula, okay.
Thank you. Let's give a chance for another caller, 502. Call out your name and where you calling from.
My name is Senator M. Josh, and I call from Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you.
This is what I want to say. I listened to Pawema and that of Kula, but I have come to the point to realize that we are preaching deception in Liberia. Yeah, it's a deception. We tell people follow the law. The government is violating the laws. That's what we tell people. But ourselves, we are violating the laws. It's like in America here, they tell you Black Lives Matter. But go in the Black neighborhood, what happened? They kill up one another. That life does not matter. But if the white man wake up to do it, then it become a matter. Mr. Kura on here, talking about the law. Can you, in this country, go to a protest and say you want Donald Trump to step down and use profanity and say to him, I will drag you like a dog? Can you do that in this country?
Yes, you can.
It cannot work.
Yes, you can.
In fact, hold on a second. Okay. When you accusing Prince Sharif and that of Michael Y. German, right? It was very clear when it comes to Costa. When Costa sat here and made those comments about the country, how they will bring the airport down, the airport that they have spent that amount of money for. Okay, you never had it before. Your country is dirty. You cannot even compare that of Nigeria or Guinea or Sierra Leone. You have something, and you're talking about bringing it down, a warrant, an arrest, but it never happened. Okay, it never happened. So we cannot sit on this show. We cannot sit wherever we are and spell out deception to our people. Let us be fair when we're talking things. Okay, you cannot say the government should follow the law and you are the one to break the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dennis, can we take one more?
Okay, let's take.
Let's take caller with 0939 264 area code.
Y'all do your judge thing.
No.
Are you there?
Hello, this is Doma calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
All right, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. Let me start with the person who said he can't say those things he said to Donald Trump. That's not true. They can say it here. Donald Trump was inaugurated. I think the first or the second day, people demonstrating yesterday they should impeach him. They do it here. They have balloons drawn like Donald Trump with Be Better, Be Here, all on the street. They can do it here. Somebody said that Costa and the other people are opposition people and they're trying to make government look bad. All right, let's take Costa from the picture. Let's take all the CAP leaders from the picture. They are nothing. But those things that are saying, are they true? Moba Modu, the chairman of the ruling party of Liberia, the president's chairman, he said the president goes abroad, collects money. When he comes into the country, he tells Tue that my money, I win for the money. You say they're trying to make the government to look bad. Is the government good?
I'm making itself look bad. Thank you, caller.
The president, okay, let's talk about the $25 million US, the $16 million, billion Liberian dollars. Those are the kind of things they're talking about. The president been in office for 2 years. Bad economy. Those are the kind of things they're talking about. So let's look at the issues. Let's take those people out. Is the government doing well? The government is doing bad. The president needs to listen. He doesn't have old people that have served in government before, former government officials, experienced people to advise him. He's making mistakes. That's why the country is not moving forward. So you say they're making the government to look bad. This government is good. The government is not good.
Thank you.
A lot of points you're talking about, the people should go through.
Please conclude. Please conclude. We have a lot of callers on the line. Please conclude, bro.
Okay, yeah, but Okuni, you stand to say the people should go through the legislature. You know that is not going to work. In that country, the president is the most powerful person. He even controls the court. He controls the legislature. The fellow there now as speaker, he thinks that they sent him there to protect the Southeastern president. Other legislators, when they want to bring something on the floor, he sees it, he says on it, he doesn't bring it there. So the president controls the legislature, he controls the judiciary. They can't go through them. And when you suppress people throughout like that, then they find a way to express themselves. That's what is going on.
Thank you, Mr. Duma.
Thank you.
All right. To our callers who are still on the line, please wait. We'll come back to you. We'll go back to Mr. Kune.
Okay. I listened to the callers and I listened to my fellow panelists here. Back to Ellis' question and back to the main question you asked, who's the winner? I mean, for each day this kind of activity go on, our country is the one that is losing. You know, the very conditions that we say we want to remedy, we exacerbate those conditions. Revenue that's supposed to be collected today was not collected. It may not be collected tomorrow. It may not be collected throughout the time. Our children are supposed to go to school, will not be in school. And so we are not solving the problem. We are, in fact, increasing the problem. And if I listen to some of the callers, especially my brother Okongwa, the fact that, you know, there is this loss of faith in everything, in every institution. You know, we cannot have faith in the presidency. We cannot have faith in the legislature. We cannot have faith in the judiciary. It is statements like that that make me to conclude that, look, perhaps the strategic goal of the COP is not to present a petition. The strategic goal of the COP is to unravel the entire system. Is to make the country ungovernable so that the system falls, so that a government can emerge on it. And my appeal here is that is a path that no one here can predict the outcome. Nobody here is arguing that we don't have concerns in our country. Nobody is arguing that we don't have problems in our country. Nobody is arguing that Liberia economy is like Sweden. It was never worse. But sometimes the demands that these people are making, sometimes you find it even confusing. You find it confusing. There is an investigative report on the $25 million, but they still want a report.
Mr. Cohen, let me push you on the $25 million. I follow that issue very.
The FRCU, the Financial Intelligence Crime Unit, investigated the $25 million, and on the basis of that, people were sent to, referrals were sent to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Agency for people to be prosecuted. They say they want the report of that. They are against the budget of the First Lady. These are all legislative.
Mr. Kune, only $25 million since the report was sent to the LACC, it has not returned to the Liberian people. Why is that taking that long?
Again, if it is not in action now of the president. This is why I make the point. The legislature has the power to see these things. Now, everybody is
not the legislature that sent the report to the LACC. It was the president, and he did not just send it. He made a commitment. He made a commitment, Mr. Kune. Mr. Kune, the president made a commitment that the report upon its return from the LACC, according to the Justice Minister, there were going to be criminal prosecution. The report is yet to return. What is stopping that?
And I'm saying the legislature has the oversight to demand that report. That's not the reason why you stop our children from going to school. That's not the reason why you deprive government of legitimate revenue. That's not the reason why you put people in the street. This is my point.
All right.
And I'm saying that this whole protesting is not about grievances. The protest is in furtherance of a strategic goal that is intended to unravel our political system, for which people must be aware. Now they went in the street today. Did the report come? Will the report come tomorrow? Will the report come during the next protest?
that did not negate the fact that it was their right, or it is their right to have a protest. Dennis, anything you want to?
I want to go for one more caller because this guy, he's been coming and falling off. Mr. Kesely Double, you are live.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I thought you forgot that I'm here already.
No, we don't do that here and focus on.
I want to appreciate you very much for being here. Thank you very much, Mr. Jai, and thanks to CA, and thanks to your guest. Like Dr. Kula was just saying in your studio there, why it is true that the COP as an organization made some mistakes in the process of carrying on the protest. I think the police, the government blundered a whole lot. This government been playing delayed tactics on this protest all along. This government been accusing people falsely from the beginning, even from the inception of the protest. This government been looking for space, that's some kind of a spark to include somebody into this protest and say, who did this to this person did this for this, we are arresting them. So I mean, planting the arm in the Colbert car, when you watch the whole video, even look at an African show. It looks so childish. For a man like Sudu even come out to come and make such a report about finding gun in the Colbert car, it looks so funny. So childish. I want you to just live a follow-up and watch all of the videos on the CA, and you will see what happened. With the COPA issue.
Okay.
Why the that my version was not even in favor of the protester cooking to that particular spot. I am one person, though I'm in favor of the protest, but I was not in favor of the protesters cooking in front of the executive marshal. I was totally against it. But why would you go and use tear gas to color fire from a cook pot? I think before they used in put all the fire or in taking the pot from the protesters, it was too harsh. After they threw the tear gas on the protesters, everybody's blood, you even ran after them. So that tells you that the issue was not only about the cook pot, the issue was about disrupting the protesters and getting them out of the place. Because they were afraid that the protesters were actually serious for the protest this time around. That's the reason why they chose to do what they did. It was nothing about just the cook pot. You can use that heavy hand, very, very heavy hand, just to remove a cook pot.
Thank you, Mr. Double.
So I think in my mind, that was a very big mistake on the part of the government, and I'm sure they will regret it. And I can tell you that the protest today for COP was successful. It was very, very successful. When I go to international media, you will see it. Go and follow the report on international media. It is there. The government blunder, and they keep blundering.
Thank you, Mr. Double.
You see?
All right, Alex, are you there? We're gonna.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here, and I totally agree with what the caller just said, except for the last point he made. He keeps talking about the international media. Liberia has their own media, or Liberians need to create their own media that is credible. This gentleman and many others sacrifice every day of the week to come and give objective balance, bring both sides, so that at some point we can start to respect our own selves. We don't have to listen to BBC or VOA before something is correct. So the brother made a very good point, but I want to admonish all Liberians. Unless we build our own institution, we undermine our own institution, and we always. Do you think CNN is objective? Do you think Fox News is objective? Do you think BBC is objective? When last have you heard BBC talk about the royal family negatively? So let's cut this international media thing off. We have good journalists in Liberia. We have people who sacrificing doing this thing for free. We got 2 people here today. So I'm admonishing us all, let's start believing in some of our people. The people who sweep the streets, the people who are at JFK serving, the people who are public works, making the rules. The thing is, we look only at political figure and the aristocrats in Liberia. If you're not a Ure, you're not a Cummins, you're not a Ria, you're not a Casta, then you're nothing. So let's stop there. We have good journalists in Liberia. We got people like Rodney Sear who day and night for the last 2 decades have sacrificed his life, went to jail. Name one international journalist that have gone to jail in Liberia for reporting. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Alex. Mr. CA, I will go to you, but before I go to you, let me ask you this question because you are the political guy. What the caller is saying on the part of the government is, as we will say in Liberia, all of the team want move already, you go push them.
Yeah. And that is so true. If you are talking about the issue of the pot, right, or the cooking.
The co-part.
Yeah, so this is the government from the onset didn't want the protest. They did everything to discourage the organizers not to hold the protest. Even the leader of the COP, Helen Costa, there were news that there was an arrest warrant for him. The justice minister have to come and clear that. Eugene Facon at some point said, well, if there's no arrest warrant for him now, that doesn't mean that there will not be one for him when he arrives at the airport. And so from the get-go, the government has been opposing the very protest, but this is a government that is came to power out of protest. So sometimes I wonder, how can this government that protested so long be so afraid? Can you imagine on the 30th of December, when the protest was not held, people who support the government were celebrating as though Jesus has returned, to take them to heaven. So that tells you that the government never wanted the protest anyway. So for the COP to have been asked by the police, hey, is there a way you can stop the cooking? I mean, I feel that they should have immediately taken action to remove the issue of cooking and let the protest go on peacefully. And the government saw that as an opportunity to do president, and the government did. And now the international news that is out there is not good for our government. And that is what the government should always be aware of. What will people say at the end of the day? The government now is the one looking back. And that is what I have to say to that.
Let me read some comments on the phone, and then we can go to Dr. Kula. Christopher Roti Tobasi say, radio talk show host turned so-called advocate Henry Costa fled, abandoned the protester today. I don't know if that's true to the story. He said they abandoned these two and went to jail with their supporters. But when the hour came today, Mr. Henry Costa ran. Also, Edward Menye said, thank you, Mr. Moderator. He's talking to Alex. Why always invoke foreign news organ over our country's new media? James Davis still talking to Alex, say you don't have the financial credibility to get your own media. Dr. Lomeo Wilson, what about the legislature invite the LACC, order them to provide updates on the status of the report? This is how civilized people hold public offices officials accountable. Nash Washington said, Mr. Cooney, even if revenue were collected today, what has the government done with the ones collected earlier? So talking to say that because of the protest, revenues was not collected. He said, even if they collected revenue, what about the other revenue that they collected before? Sia Kamano said, no, Mr. Macaulay Willett, they disrespect the law. It is okay, but their country coke unit disrespect authority. It is, I'm not understanding that quite well, but back to you, Mr. Sia.
Thank you, Dennis, for reading those comments from our viewers who are writing their comments. We appreciate that. Keep the comment rolling, but make sure take your time to write a comment so that it can be easier to read so that you can also be heard. Again, folks, in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia, and we are discussing about the protest. This is a post-protest analysis. Let's come back to you, Dr. Kula. Now that all this has happened, our next question is, what now? What next? What is the future of the COP?
Well, I can't tell you what the future of the COP is because I don't know. I can only speculate. And I can only suggest that the COP needs to go back to the drawing board. Go and organize a little bit more, like how Mr. Coney said, to do more voters education, get the voters roll straight. Look at basically the legislators and how we can change the legislators for the better. And look at all of our institutions, see how we can strengthen them. Because I think a lot of the issues became that this president, when he came into power, he started chopping away at our institutions, destroying our integrity institutions, violating the Constitution, going after perceived enemies and those in the media and those in private sector, those like attorney Judge Jane, Kabina Jane, who he removed. Then when we look, he started removing tenured people like the CBL governor and then the LU president, and replaced them by people from the southeast of the country. And if you look at his government, it's heavy on the southeastern side. And so it seems like there are those in our country who take this position that we cannot allow protests because it takes away from the government getting revenue. It gives the government a bad name and so on and so forth. And I say to that, what would it take from the president just to say something as simple as, I hear you guys, I acknowledge you, okay? And all the petitions that you've presented to me, I can't do much about these, but this one I'll do something about, and the other ones I'll take under advisement. Just acknowledge people sometimes in life, especially in a place like Liberia that has gone through so much political turmoil. I think that's what we need to be thinking about people. But it seems like our present government has segmented the country into those who support the government and those who don't, those who are CDC and those who are not, and I don't think that's the way you run a government. Your country is divided. Bring the country together, reconcile the country. I think that's what we need to be doing. And I think dialogue, like the COP people said, is the key. They need the dialogue. But then if you say, I'm not going to talk to anybody, they're racketeers, but then at the same time, according to Mr. Coney, you calculate because Moba Malu is in your party and he was your strategic man. He says the same thing that the COP says, but you can tell Moba Malu, oh, you be careful about people who record you. Everybody not your friend, and we're going to reconcile and we're going to go about doing all of this for the CDC and whatnot. Why can't you reconcile your country?
Fair point.
President, let me finish this point. The president and those in power have the greatest responsibility to set the tone in society. If this president wants a great government and wants things to settle down, he will reconcile the country. I don't believe in the conspiracy theories from Mr. Coney and those like Sylvester Moses and others that are saying these COP guys want to make the country ungovernable. I think the COP guys just want to speak up and say, look here, do something about our country, our economy, and stop breaking down our institution.
Thank you, Mr. Kula.
Most of them that run it are from the opposition. Yes, it looks bad, but that's what we have to deal with right now. And I hope that others will step up. The average people will step up, that the church people start talking. You don't have to join the COP, but those in the interreligious council speak up. Bishops and others speak up. People in society speak up. People need to speak up, or else what's going to happen is everybody in our society will be co-opted, everybody will be silenced, and this guy will continue to
Thank you, Dr. Kun.
Thank you.
Let's go to Mr. Kun to respond, then we go to our phone lines.
Yeah, may I come in, Mr. Dennis? Just to follow what buttress what Dr. Kula was just saying. And he asked a very good question. He's making a very good appeal. And I think I have the answer for him. The answer is that our people are hypocrites. That's the answer, including the leaders and the followers. We're hypocrites, okay? I can take both sides of this argument and win right here. There are people who are saying that you shouldn't call on the government to resign. Okay, they don't do it in America. The United States government, the State Department, you want me to show you? Call on Venezuela elected president to resign. Call on Hosni Mubarak to resign. Call on people in the Syrian president to resign. What do you have to say about that?
Don't forget about Charles Taylor.
And Charles Taylor. So they only cherry pick what suits them. So that's the part on the people who saying you're not allowed to call on your government to resign. Let me go on the other side of the aisle the COP and what have you. When you go and support a government and insult the Liberian people and tell them you're not supposed to hold your government accountable, it's only 6 months or 2 years or whatever time, okay? And do you think that that presents any kind of a leadership that people should follow? So the people who follow both sides, okay? When Ellie Johnson, let's go back to the previous government. When we have people like Barney Sherman, me, I'll call names. I'm not afraid of any one of them. On tape, right? In clear embezzlement. When people that create store, put journalists in jail, all right, for writing stories that is objective. Liberian people shut their mouths. We are deceitful people. That's why I don't support any side. They all are racketeers. That's the all. Until I see your clean hands, I'm not going to support any Liberian party, any Liberian tribal organization, any Liberian church. The church is the worst.
Yeah.
They cower to the president, they cower to whoever. They should be ashamed of themselves. They are immoral people. I don't respect any church in Liberia because none of them speak the truth. They only dare to get favors and opportunities. So let us shut up about right and wrong. Let us research ourselves and let us look for solutions so that we all, first of all, should look at ourselves in the mirror and say, we are responsible. Alice Jones, you are responsible.
Yeah.
Then we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Unless if you said all the churches are immoral, you gotta come to for counseling to me, or we put you on synonym bench.
And I will be in the church in the front row telling them that.
All right, that's the man, Mr. Alice Jones there. Don't get him started. He will go on and speak the truth to power. Mr. Kunin, we will get back to you, but there's this caller that's been waiting and waiting for 26 minutes.
No, there's a caller for 39 minutes. So let me.
Okay, let's go to 39 minutes first. All right.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, we had George. That's George. George had 39 minutes. We had him.
No, George have spoken. That's 28 minutes.
28 minutes. Patrick.
Patrick Soa. Yeah, Patrick Soa. Patrick.
Go ahead, Patrick. Your name and where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Patrick Soa, and I call you from South Dakota.
Your question or comment?
If
1
I
minute.
were, Alice, if I were living in your state, I'm going to pull you on my back. You are a generational leader. But I'm again disappointed in Dr. Kula and the two moderators.
Okay.
I told you the other day that the names you got in the studio, they are leaders of our generation, especially Dr. Kula. Dr. Kula. We learn from here a lot. They show you don't know, but that title you can, we learn from you. You keep interrupting. You're not abiding by the common norms on the show. The moderator keeps telling you, stop. This is my second time listening to you. I might not be partaking on this show because I get disappointed.
Patrick, just go to the issue and leave the personality. Go to the issue, Patrick. I mean, it's similar to what
I'm
you're trying to
expressing
say.
myself. If you don't want me, hey, I'm expressing myself. If you want to restrict my utterances, then I pause. I'm expressing myself. I have the time. I will not go more than the time. If you want to restrict my utterances, then I can just leave.
Issues, my brother.
I'm just telling you how I feel about the show.
Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So we got to be protected. A caller called. He was interrupted by Dr. Kula. And you guys now bringing him to an intellectual bender needs to abide by the rules. I beg you. Now, this is my point. Dr. Kula, I heard you that the protesters were not prior informed and that the police attempted to cut them off when they had started cooking. So I surmised that your analysis is that therefore the guys were right to be cooking or they did not inform them. Hey, that is good to research on these kind of programs. Let me take you to police never needed to inform them. According to Section 1, Title 31 of the Liberian Code of Laws of 1956, known as the Public Health and prior thereto as the Public Health and Safety Law 26, food and beverages, food preparation and establishment. It says that in any city in Liberia that has more than 10,000 people, whenever you want to prepare food in the street, you must obtain a permit. Are you telling me that you and the protesters in Henry Costa, all the big books, they didn't research that law to know that the law prohibits you cooking in the street? The police got to tell them? You didn't know that? Thank you, man. Take your time.
Patrick, thank you. Dennis, we have this caller I see here. Caller with phone number ending 0297. 0297. You've been waiting for about 17 minutes.
There's a caller here for 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay, let's go to that caller for 30 minutes. You hold there. We'll get back to you.
Caller with 301 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
Good evening. My name is Reverend Solomon Moy. I'm calling from the DC area.
Okay.
Reverend Moy, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
Thank you so much. Just a comment and throw some light on that which my brother Dr. Kula is trying to put forth, but there's not much clarity. And I want to start with Honorable Kone for giving a fair perspective of what is going in Liberia. If we can read it, go back to the 2 years of Ellen Johnson administration. After 2 years, she said to us, don't expect too much too soon. Things were still in the tough situation. And it took even George Weah to go out with Ellen and solicit donor assistance and ask for debt relief for the country. It was an opposition helping the government to ensure that we get on the path. When Ellen Johnson could leave off, before she could leave off, she said that corruption has become a vampire. It means that the billions of dollars we have received from the country for development, the rest of it, it went the way that was not profitable to the country. Even Joseph Barker said that it squandered opportunity. Now, granted, we had a new government that came and said we met the cover empty. And truth speaking, $7 million, whatever it is. Interestingly, COP is protesting, but in their petition, not one of the petitions said that they should audit the past government, which was unfair. And interestingly, all of those who were in the past government are the same people in this COP, along with those who were defeated, but not one can raise their hand and say, let's audit this past government because of what happened in the past. Now, it's easy to give an explanation that doesn't relate to the context and mislead people. Today's protest, when those guys had to cook over there, the police went to the head and told them it was not safe to cook over there. And even carried along with them the fellow from the Independent National Human Rights Commission. And they talked to them. So they said they wouldn't have cooked. But when the leaders left and police left, went back to the position, they brought back their co-parts and began to cook. And they had a group that was surrounding the entire area of the cooking and said that police can move them from there. You get what I'm saying? They just had the police were coming. And the human rights guy wanted to intervene. Police said, no, because we already told them, and they are insisting. So they made a barricade around the cooking area to prevent police from removing them. That's how police moved them from there.
Okay.
That's one of it. Now,
Mr.
what we are saying in essence is this.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
In concluding is this. Yeah, this is our country. We all. And if we want to heal this country, if we want to be fair to ourselves as people, let's hit the nail to where it belongs. If you escape reality and try to pour forth, I was surprised to our T-Max Gelate, who is a journalist, in the protest, as a protester, It makes to read it. I mean, doubt the credibility of journalists.
All right.
So it means that this journalists been controlling the narrative against the government to create this kind of scene we see today.
Thank you, Mr.
Which was bad. I think we need to talk about it as well too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We want to go back to our guests.
Dennis, let's be fair to this caller. Caller gone 22 minutes now. Caller with 0293. You've been waiting for 22 minutes.
Mr. C, before you go to caller, just one appeal. I think one of the callers made some direct allegation to my brother, Dr. Kula. I think he needs to respond to that.
Yeah,
and we encourage it. You know what? So long you don't insult us, so long you don't use it, say what you want to say about Alex. You can say you're stupid. You can say, I think this is the only place where we welcome open exchange, because you can't say this to Henry Castle show. You can't say this to George Weah media or whatever. So we welcome it. You should give us the ability to respond. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, Dr. Kula responds. So the caller, go ahead. 1 minute, please.
Have I been chased out of this show?
No, we'll get back to you.
Well, you know, I want to say, I will not forgive the government for what they did today. I can't forgive the government for what the government did today. Nobody might tell me I'm going to forgive the government for what the government did to us today. We been eating fake hot dog in the morning. One day we eating Lebanese man hot dog. We eating Chinese people hot dog in the morning. I want you to have a Costa Kid for America and bring an original hot dog for us. So we can come and buy our hot dog while we protest it. Original American hot dog. We come out, we come and buy our hot dog for us to eat it. For the other people to say that they're hungry to watch more hot dog, they don't want to pay for the hot dog. They can't take water, they can't raise it all. Who can they say whatever? Who can they say whatever they take about before they can't take water and raise it all? We don't have a hot dog.
Call out your name and where you calling from. Let's start from there.
Call out your name and where you calling from.
I'm calling from Montreal, Single.
You don't know who's that?
That's the man D. Cordes. I know. That's D. Cordes. But D. Cordes, on a serious note, please give your opinion, and then we can let you go. On a serious note.
You already did. The hot dog.
What kind of opinion again? What video can smoke? The hot dog, you see all the nice juicy hot dog I am supposed to bring for America. For me to eat a DEP and let it out me the homeless policemen have got with hot water. They got with hot water, they easy about smoke beer. I'm smoking no beer today. They might pay for our hot dog. They might pay for our hot dog. They pay for it. We're going to protest again tomorrow. We want our hot dog.
Thank you, D. Curtis. Again, folks in cyberspace, that was the man, D. Curtis. He is one of our own, the Liberian best comedian that I know. They're making his contribution in a way he does best. Let's now come to you, Mr. Kuni. Some people refer to you as the intellectual heavyweight.
Mr. Kula,
we have no intention.
Mr. Kula.
Wait, Alice,
let me respond to that caller, Patrick.
Let Mr. Kuni respond. He been saying that it's like we're laughing out. Mr. Kuni, go ahead, sir.
Kuni complaining though.
Yeah.
Well, before I make my point, I just want to clarify a few erroneous things that Dr. Kula has been saying on this platform from time to time. I think it is important for this clarification because the more he repeats that, there may be the tendency that it is true. He keeps talking about integrity, the weakening of integrity institution. They present it as if to say there were stronger integrity institutions that are now being weakening by this government. We all here, we are witness to the fact that for the past 12 years, the General Auditing Committee, all of the audit reports that were generated during that process, not a single action was taken on one of all of the millions of dollars of government money that went unaccounted for. not a single action taken on any audit report for the past 12 years, for the 12 years of the Sirleaf administration. So for somebody to come here and talk about integrity institution as if to say there is a crashing of those institutions during this time is completely disingenuous. You're quick to run to this in Southeastern Bend. You know, I think there is something Southeastern that is bothering Dr. Kula. But the last time I checked Mr. Weir's government, Jefferson Kojina from the Southeast, Mwaba Moluna from the Southeast, Rabo Ai Braina from the Southeast, Achibo Banana Southeastern, Nathaniel Magina Southeastern, Adama Sirleaf from Internal Ministry Southeastern. All of these people, they're not Southeastern. But Doug, if your argument that because a Southeasterner is the president of the country, so all other Southeasterners should not get employment in government, then I leave that argument with you. Because you seem so fascinated about this ethnic discussion whenever we hear on an intellectual debate. I've never even bothered to ask you what part of Liberia you come from, because it's irrelevant to me. It's irrelevant to your position. It's irrelevant to your mindset. Then the second thing he talks about is all the protesters want is for the president to come and talk, as if to say we all forgot history. It was the very protester that the president invited to his office in the executive mansion, and said, gentlemen, I'm here. What are you guys' concerns? These very protesters refused to give their concern to the president. And he dismisses all of that. Then again, when even the June 7 protest was held, the government sent a delegation to obtain the grievances of the protesters. These guys refused to give the grievances to the president. And it's all like, oh, they just want to talk, they just want to share views, and the president is recalcitrant. We have to debunk all these things here, these falsehoods that are being disseminated here. And the sad thing is that, look, from what I see is Liberia is being reduced to the Middle East mentality. You know, in the Middle East, when you blink, you know, you are perceived as being weak. We all know the history that went along with this process, this protest, from the threats of arresting Henry Costa, from the defiance from the Justice Ministry that the protest will now go on, to all of the events. Henry Costa entered Liberia with nobody touching him. We cannot even give credit. We cannot even acknowledge that. What we saw was, okay, you know, it should be emboldened to do more. The Justice Ministry, contrary to its own position, provided security for the protesters. That even emboldened them more. So what I see, if we continue with this Middle East mentality, that when your opponents see reasoning, instead of you seizing on that reasoning and putting forward a reasonable position to resolve conflict, but you sense weakness in your opponent, these things are drivers of conflict in our country. And nobody will be a winner when these things happen. As a long-term solution, again, I suggest what I've always suggested. Liberians will have to be patient. We have to work through our system. We have to refine our system. I'm not dismissing issues in Liberia. That's never been my argument. I'm not dismissing protests. But anyone who subscribes to the idea that a political change of leadership can come through protests and that we should render the government ungovernable so that that narrative can be carried, so that the whole society can crumble for a leadership to emerge, your prescription for Liberia is a failed state. Because remember, whatever precedent that is set in this process will be a precedent, just like the people are referring to the CDC you used to demonstrate 12 years ago. It will be another precedent, another group of Liberians will look at in the future to effect change. So for us, it is that strategic view. And anybody can characterize it as a support for we are. But I know my country will survive beyond we are. Liberia will survive beyond we are. I'm more for what is sustainable, what brings us more political benefit. So if the COP want to do daily protests, as if to say it is the only article in our constitution to respect, they can go ahead. The government itself has a responsibility. Liberia is not the only place you're talking about international group talking about Liberia. Liberia is not the only place where police move on protests. protesters, go to France. You see police move on protesters, go to England, go anywhere. When you're in the street, when you're in the public domain, even in the exercise of your right, you are under obligation to obey the laws of the land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kone. And we will go to Dr. Kula Dennis, and then after Dr. Kula respond, and we'll take 2 callers, and then we'll call it a day. We've been here for over 2 hours now. So again, folks in cyberspace, stay with us. Dr. Kula?
Yeah, let me first of all speak to Patrick Soa, I think it's his name, because this is the second time he brought this up. I don't know how many debates Patrick has watched, but even in the United States presidential debates, they're heated, and you have times in which the participants interrupt each other. It does not take away from the debate. It does not take away from the individual. I'm not sure why he's so stuck on this. But Patrick, if it makes you feel satisfied and you're one of those who want to learn what we have to say without interruptions, I'll try my best not to interrupt my good friend. But whenever my good friend is trying to twist my words or spin, I have to interject to make that correct. But anyway, I apologize to anybody who took affront to that, but that's all I'm going to say on that. Now, moving on to my good friend, Mr. Cooney here. I wanted to clap for you. That was a great presentation.
Very clap.
You listed all, I think about 5 people who are not Southeasterners, but what you failed to do was not list the Southeasterners who are in permanent positions in this government, and how consistently it's always been the president putting Southeasterners in strategic positions. Samuel Twe, Trokonbi, Piso Sedi Tarlu, who's now at CBL, Sawula Nelson at LU to control the LU students. Look, let's be honest with ourselves. Liberia is a country that's based on ethnicity. Whether you want to face it or not, it's based on ethnicity. It's based on people getting in positions and bringing their friends and their ethnic colleagues into power. And that's what's going on. So if you're honest with yourself, you look at, when you leave from here, go look at the list of appointments that we has done. It's heavy on the Southeastern side. Let's admit that, okay? Let's have a little bit of balance in our government, and it's not so much Southeastern. Let's have quality people in our government. I think that's what we should be pushing for more than anything else.
Then remove the Southeastern talk. Talk about quality.
No, I'm going to discuss the Southeastern because it's part of our politics. It's reality. I cannot. It's sort of like say in America, don't discuss that when what's his name, Trump came into power, he brought a lot of his New York boys with him, you know, or that he brought a lot of the conservatives with him, or what have you. That's our politics.
Right.
Our politics is around ethnicity, around friendship.
Dr. Kula, I'm from the Southeast. How come I didn't get a call yet?
I don't know. You know, keep. Maybe you need to talk like Kone. You'll get your call.
The man is a job. It is not what you call
right, a recognized Southeastern name.
It's not Jones.
I didn't even know
it's not.
Right. So the point I'm making there, Mr. Kula, is
I forgot the list. I forgot the list. What the other guy named that's like youth and sports. I mean, go and look at the list, my brother. Let's be honest with ourselves, man.
And Dr. Kula, you forgetting me. My niece here is a common Southeastern name. How come I'm yet to get a call too?
I don't know.
I'm not getting a call either.
The government.
I'm not getting a call either.
All right, then you wanted to say something. I want to squeeze in our 2 callers, and then we'll call it.
No, what I want to say here is there was a publication. I want the 2 of you to react to that. Mm-hmm. There was the ANC has come out to condemn what they call the planting of the weapon in Yeke, the framing of Representative Yeke Koluba, and also what they call the government being heavy-handed. Yeah. I want us to look at ANC. ANC earlier dissociated themselves from the We Are Step Down protest. What is the ANC trying to do here? And should we listen to the ANC in this matter? Let me start with Mr. Jones.
Now you want to start trouble, Dennis?
I like trouble.
You want to start trouble? Okay. So I read an interview on Front Page Africa on November. I think this is the interview here, if you can see on the page. And this was the ANC political leader, Ms. Alexander Cummings, and these were his prescription for economic, solutions in the country. Well, first, I must applaud the man. Anybody who goes out and speaks on what he can offer, it's a good thing. But I encourage Liberians to go there and read this article, okay? Because from my standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. He says the government should pay people. The government does not have money. He says the government should not print money, but yet pay people. Okay? So he talks about corruption in this government, but he never talked about any of the corruption in the past government where he was awarded a prize. So when I talk about the hypocrisy, it's not that I'm going after any individual. I do not need to go after anybody for any attention or anything. The thing is, these bloggers, they think they're above the law. They think that certain rules do not apply to them. And that's what aggravates me. So they take a position, right, when it's convenient for them.
Let us stop the screen sharing.
Yeah, they take it in They take it when it's for them for political purposes. They're not sincere. Okay, what is your solution? Okay, my criticism here, he mentioned in another article on Forbes magazine about Liberians, about how well he was qualified in the industry he worked for, and he has all the experience. And Liberian needs jobs. How much job is he providing? How much job is he? Did he go to Liberia and say, okay, let me open a bottling company in Liberia to get Liberian people working? What he says, I want to be president.
What does got to do about his condemnation of the government action?
It's a hypocrisy. What I'm trying to say is a political statement, and it should be disregarded because it's not coming from an honest place. And Liberian politicians, and I don't just want to pick on you, I want to pick on all of them. The Ure. I see Taylor Ure sitting beside him and Costa. Okay, all right. So we should ignore the fact that this man, her father, okay, was part of one of the, I would say, orchestrated one of the worst suffering on the Liberian people. Have yet to even apologize. Never came out and publicly said, look, I was wrong. Okay. But he wants to be president, or his daughter wants to be part of a party that he's the head of. Liberians, let's be serious. Let's just get serious, because like I said, the problem in Liberia is because people like me, we find who we like or who we connected to or who our family members are, and they can't do no wrong. And then when Joshua does it, they're wrong. So that's my point. All the Darius Dillon was part of the Ellen Johnson administration. He worked in the current vice president office. There was no corruption in our administration. So I do not have any respect. They do not have any integrity. They have never spoken on anything in a balanced way. They're nothing but greed-seeking politicians that are looking for power, and they will do worse. And this does not include Joshua, but what I'm seeing, the opposition, when they boycott, who are there for 12 years, got salary in the thousands of dollars. Okay, don't even have one cold water factory in Liberia to employ his own people. His own town probably don't even have running water. So let us be, I think I'm the only Liberian who can stand up and say these things. I don't care whether you are Jones, you are Bromsky, you are Cummins. I don't give a hank. Do the right thing. If you want to be a political figure, one second, please. If you want to be a politician and you don't want to be scrutinized, then this is not the place and your time for you. If you're an ordinary citizen, I have nothing to say. But when you come up and try to condemn, what you're doing is you're infuriating the situation. You're taking one side. You're not looking at the fact that the Henry Costa was also involved in Joshua becoming president. So why do you shut your mouth during that time? Or why don't you call Henry Costa or and say, no, you said Joshua is incompetent. Why were you on the air for months promoting him? So they should shut their mouths. All the Liberian politicians, like I said, we don't need presidency in Liberia. Be like
Mr. Jones, let's leave it right there. Tomorrow we have a show coming up for you. Again, folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. For your information, we are starting a new series tomorrow on this network, focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics with me, Anthony C. Tomorrow in series 1, or the first series, we will be periscoping the opposition. So we are starting a periscope series starting tomorrow. Mr. Jones will be right here. You'll have all the time to go after the opposition. And if you are listening to us right now, don't miss it tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
I can't wait.
Yet on this platform. Don't miss it. And we'll be.
Can we pay our co-part, our hot dog?
You can do that. You can do that. Let's do justice to these two callers, Dennis. Let's squeeze the two callers in quickly. Caller with last numbers 1030. Please do it. Let hear you speak.
This is James Young, calling from Miami, Minnesota.
All right. Thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Thanks for everybody that's participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The problem we have in Liberia, we the Liberians have our own problem. I don't think all these protests and all these politics talk would benefit anything for Liberia. I think as a Liberia, look at our neighbors, look at the development, look at our colleagues. We all went to school together and they're doing big things, but we still in the same cooking things and we're still making all this noise. How many presidents will come and sit in Liberia chair that will not criticize? But we cannot see any development, and we are not seeing a genuine person who will say, oh, yeah, when you put this person here there, things will change. Every president, I'm 43 years old, all the presidents that have been coming, people talk every negative thing, but now one day they stand and say, oh, you know what, this guy will do it, and the guy get there and things change. I think we Liberians need to stop all these quarrels and all this hatred that we put among ourselves, that creating tension and making our country to go down and down and down and down. We in 2020, people still cooking with coal-pot. We in 2020, people don't have running water. We in 2020, people don't have no electricity. And we still talking about politics and this one do that, this one do that. It's not benefiting us. Tupac said, let's change the way we talk, the way we eat, and the way we do things. The first way we're doing it is not working. So let's change. No matter what, who is in power, whether that cat or the door, let's support that cat and door to see development in our country. When our country develops, it will create jobs and people will be, they will not even get time for government. We got all these educated people, but they cannot produce jobs in Liberia. All the money they're spending to protest in Liberia, they could open many more, open many factories, open little things for the people when they say they really love the people of Liberia, for the people to get jobs. And if the people get jobs, they will not even care what our government see or government see. But we are not doing it. All the Liberians that are now graduates from university, graduates from all these things, our own education is just by mouth, but it's not by hands and physical things to see for the Liberian people to do. So let's just forget all these things here and come together and say our country is too old. Let us develop our country ourselves. It doesn't matter who is in power. That's
Thank you. Thank you, brother. And Dennis, let's squeeze our last caller in. Caller with phone number ending 2047.
No, that's caller. You are on the line. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello. Hello.
Can
you hear me?
Hold on. Sorry.
I'm Jeanette, and I'm calling. Okay.
Yeah, 905 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
I'm Jeanette. I'm calling from Canada, Hamilton.
Oh.
I just want to give my little input, and if I had the opportunity to maybe say something that the government will listen. No matter what it is, at this point, President Weah is all of us president. And I think it's up to him. He needs to listen to his people. I just think us advertising, they're making this protest business, like making the international community to come in. People protested in Liberia a lot. And we did not have this much concerns. What is it? Let the people get in the street. If they have their concerns, give them the opportunity. Let them do it. It takes nothing out of the president to come down. These are the people that voted for him and say, what is it, my people? What you want me to do?
I know.
If they gave him that petition, they get off the streets. I think it will be calmer than for us. But when they say the people come in protest, it becomes like an international topic. Everybody, even international community is talking about it. Every country. It's not like people protest all the time. Yeah. Why is it now a big deal for us to have protests in Liberia? Allow the people exercise their rights.
Fair point.
That's just my take on it. I wish they can stop politicizing this protest business so the international, because it looks bad on our country, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Janita.
So let's take the last caller now. And I mean, that's true. It looked like, and because of the noise of the protest, the genuine issues are lost.
Yeah.
All we're talking about now is the cook part and the rest of it. But let's take the last caller. Caller, your name and where you calling from.
Yeah. My name is Isaac. I'm calling from the state of Minnesota.
Isaac, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the moderator for organizing this platform.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to project a few things on today's protest. You know, the organizers of the COP, I mean, they try their best, you know, they identify the problem in this country, and they were able to make some sacrifices. Not everybody able to do that, what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You see, only a few people can take those challenges. Let's start from the onset. When we came into power, okay, there are a lot of things he failed to set the basis for his government. During the transition time, at the time they were handing the power over to him, he will have a very good team to set up an auditing bureau to audit the outgoing government, heading government. That was not done. Maybe he did it through favoritism or law or fear, you know. And he entered into the game, and he started accumulating wealth for himself. Failed to disclose his access to the public, to the Liberian market, what he accumulated while he owned a football field. Okay, now he entered the office, then only getting messy, 25 million, 60 billion. There was someone not getting paid on time. The economic system is all breaking down. You see? I mean, people got to see, even the complex man in the village, person in the little village, feeling the heat about economy, the hardship. And everybody can be silent. So I enjoy the product there. It's not about customer. It's not about, I mean, it's about Liberian.
Thank you, Isaac.
People got to speak up.
You are right.
People got to speak up. And government developing all kind of fear tactics to weaken the people to come in the street. Prior to the demonstration, you saw the police patrolling in the street with heavily armed people, you know, making the people afraid to get into the street.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you for your contribution.
The brutality, the police brutality, look what they did in the crowd there. They were not professional. You got older people, you got elderly people, you got women. They all went down there to identify with the issue they're going through. Then you go ringing or water on there, hot water tear that, rolling behind them in quarter. I mean, that's what it's about bipartisan system.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah. Let's talk about bipartisan. Let's stick to the issue. So moving forward, these guys, we got to employ them more and that the COP will get weak. It don't get the support from the Liberian people, and this guy will continue to with his empire that he's building around him.
Thank you.
Because he all these tactics he's behind it. You know, they kind of strategy they play with Yake. Man, where was Yake Libre go for?
Isaac,
in the place there? You know very
Isaac,
well.
Just conclude. 5 seconds more.
All right. Well, you know, I think moving forward, the Liberians they have to galvanize around these guys.
Thank you.
That initiated the protest.
Thank you.
That this thing are happy today should not deter them from going back They should regroup themselves, form another strategy, and carry out a sufficient mobilization. I think
Thank
the
you.
mobilization is good.
Thank you. Mr. Kune.
Yeah.
With all this talk, you know, the genuine issue, as I was saying, and you can respond to the caller, but there are genuine issues. There are things the governor is not doing, even though you tend to minimize them in favor of this, in the face of this protest. But these genuine issues now are lost.
I don't know what you mean if I try to minimize the issues. I've just expressed my opposition to the tactics that is being used to address the issue. Okay. So that's not a minimization of the issue. I'm not minimizing the fact that people are not taking pay in Liberia. I'm not minimizing that issue. I'm not minimizing the issue that the Liberian people don't have no job. It's not an issue I'm minimizing. I'm only opposed to the Middle East mentality that is in our country.
What is the Middle East mentality?
The Middle East mentality is that, you know, even in a contest, a reasonable blame from your opponent is seen as a weakness. All of these things were being accommodated without any incident if one side was not interpreting the other side from the position of weakness. And I maintain that I have a general support for protest. I do support that, the right to protest, but I see protest as a tactic. Protest is not a solution to our political problems. We have to work hard. We have to do more. We have to educate our people. We have to conscientize our people. We have to build awareness of our people. We have to organize them. We have to vote correctly to keep the system intact. If there are some Liberians who want to protest until they achieve whatever result, and if Liberians believe that can lead to the resolution of our issue, I say hats off to them. I simply disagree with that approach. I think that by working to improve our existing structure, by educating our people, and by electing the right type of people into government is the long-term solution to our problem. I am a student of precedent. Again, it is the same precedent we are putting on George Weah. Nobody talk about protest without mentioning the fact that the CDC protested, 12 years ago. And I'm just concerned about our precedent that whatever we do now will be a precedent that will live on from this point forward. So it is for the Liberian people to decide. If the Liberian people decide that their political goals and aspirations can be obtained through protest, all the time, then, so be it. They can go ahead. I just happen to disagree.
Mr. Kuni, I'm a student of precedent too. What about the precedent of not paying your not paying salaries for up to 8 months? What's about the precedent of not auditing the previous government? What's about the precedent of not giving enough teeth to the LACC and the Auditing Commission? What's about all those precedents?
And this is why I submitted to you earlier. These things can all be resolved legislatively. They cannot be resolved by a protest, in the street. They cannot be resolved, because what the protest is doing, in as much as it is the right of people to protest, it is exacerbating the issue. Okay. It is closing the country down. You're talking about investment. What kind of investor go to a country that every 2 weeks is a protest? Businesses are closed down. What kind of investment go into that? What kind of investor go into that kind of country? These are the concerns we have. It is not stopping people to legitimately assemble and present your protest. I feel if you assemble, you got your protest, you present it, you should leave so that the system can function to address your protest. But to say that you will remain in the street until you obtain an answer to your protest, I have not seen the political equivalence of that kind of situation. Because even the civil rights issue that my brother, Dr. Kula, was referring to, the protesters didn't remain in the street until they got civil rights. They protested, they put forward their grievances, then they get organized, they participated in the political process. That's how they got their right. They didn't remain on Peter Scotto's bridge to get all their rights.
Thank you. I know you are concerned about the two issues, remaining in the streets and bringing the co-part, but let's go
because it's chaos. It's chaos. You see, we got to recognize that The people that went in the street today with copper and other things are not the only people that can do that. They are not the only people that are capable of doing that. Other Liberians have that capability to go and do it. It is that chaos that we are referring to.
Okay.
What made you think it is only Costa that got a right to be in the street? All Liberians got a right to be in the street. All Liberians got a right to be in the street.
All right.
So if that the kind of country that people want, then that's fine. I just happen to disagree that in a democracy, there is an orderly way that you achieve results other than being just disruptive.
Thank you. And one issue we have not discussed is the emergence of the ICOP.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The right to protest is not an exclusive right for one group of people. And those who are keep insisting that this will be other Liberians can get into the streets and say, look, we can't go. What we're talking about is the breakdown of our country.
Let Dr. Kula weigh in on the ICOP. The same right that the COP has is the same right that the ICOP has.
ICOP went around protesting and organizing, going from place to place, and nobody bothered them. And that's the problem. We have,
maybe.
What's that?
I said maybe because they didn't use the COPAC.
I guess. This is the hypocrisy that we have in our country that Alex was talking about. You know, when you're in government, those that protest on your behalf, they're okay, they're fine. No, don't bother them. But those that protest against you, somehow we have a problem. And my fear is this: if the president listens to those like Mr. Coney who say clamp down on protests.
I've never said that. You keep complaining about people putting words in your mouth. I've never said that. You are blatantly lying.
Where's Patrick?
Hold on, Mr. Coney.
It's very blatant.
Hold on, Mr. Coney.
Because somehow it stops revenue collection, it gives the country a bad name, and somehow it's going to destroy the country, and they're trying to make the country ungovernable, therefore clamp down on it. If those guys win, if that argument wins, we'll have a Liberia where everybody in that country will be coward, and President Weah will be able to run shot through everybody in that country and do what he feels like. Every institution in our country right now, our integrity institutions have been destroyed. They don't believe in the code of conduct anymore. It doesn't exist. They don't go by it. The president,
nobody ever utilized the code of conduct, Dr. Kula. You talking about people being honest? You're not honest. When was the code of conduct ever applied?
Mr. Kune, we never had a code of conduct.
Exactly. And he presented it as if it's a code of conduct. When was it applied? When was it used? It was enacted during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. Let's go back on the J. Who complied with it? Why are you so hypocritical? Who comply with it?
And we have it now, so we need to use it, gentlemen. I agree. We didn't have the law some time back. Now that we have the law, we need to use the law, and that is a fair point.
Mr. C.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. First, I want to thank these two fine gentlemen, because what Liberian people need to understand is these men, they come here, they go after each other. But guess what? Both of them have agreed to work together in a working group to look for positive solutions. So if Mr. Costa and Mr. Weah think that they're leaders, because this is what leaders do, they can argue the points, but they find solutions to serve the people. Let them get together, let Cummings join, let UA come, they go together and they find out how first of all we can put a library in Liberia for the kids and the people so they can get some real good information, how they can put public toilet, how they can create a small healthcare insurance where people don't die at the age of 45 for preventable diseases, which Dr. Kula will be happy to go back and help them. So I'm saying leadership isn't grandstanding. It isn't, oh, I have my people, or I'm elected. And I'm gonna go, let me make this point here. I'm gonna read a passage here from the Bible, which Dennis don't think I read and follow. And it's from Matthew 23. You know what Jesus said? Because I know all the Christian people in Liberia are going to be on my case because I said the leaders, Christian leaders in Liberia are worthless. But don't listen to me, listen to Jesus Christ. He said, then Jesus said unto the crowd and his disciples, the teachers of religious laws and the Pharisees are the officials interpreters of the laws of Moses. So they practice and obey whatever they tell them. But don't follow their examples, for they do not practice what they preach. Jesus Christ criticized the religious leader because people, they see Joshua as saying, follow the laws of Liberia. Now, be honest with yourself. Does Joshua follow the laws of Liberia? Now, I don't care if he's my brother, if I'm a seditious or not. Ask yourself that question. You want to hold somebody to the law, you must hold yourself to the very. If we're really following the laws of Liberia, you're talking about, let's go to the House of Representatives. Okay, which one of the House of Representatives in Liberia has not violated almost every law in Liberia, including bribery, extortion, buying votes?
One thing.
That the people who now I should go and say, yeah, let's go for a proceeding. Which one of the judges in Liberia can you say that are clean, that they adjudicated a case based on the merit? So we don't have a law in Liberia. We don't have a government that follows the law. We've never had it. We've never had it. So what my call is to Liberians is, let's start working together and building institutions and start falling behind people, political parties, political leaders, because these are the people have all destroyed our country. So we don't have a single institution. We don't have media. The media is either with the president or the opposition. We don't have health. Okay, let's look at the situation in Liberia. In a good democracy, what will happen? An investigation will be called by independent board to look into the issues. Have anybody called on, have the government of Liberia called an independent investigator? Let's assume, yeah, the people, they acted wrong and they're not supposed to cook. So my anger or my way is righteous indignation. I'm not angry with anyone like bro. Any one of these people are my friends, are my brother. They won't come, we can play golf, we can talk, but I can stand in the face. I can put my knee in my face and say they are wrong. And when we start holding our leaders and say, look, my friend Dennis, but what you're doing, you're not giving Dr. Kula enough chance to respond, or you're not giving Dr. Kone enough chance. If I can't tell you that, then I'm worthless and useless to you. And you can tell me the same thing. So thank you very much for the time, Dr. Kula and Kone. Thanks for working together. We're all going to work together and look for a solution. So they can't criticize us and say we're in America. We'll be here for 5 years old and we're just talking.
Right.
Thank you. And we want to thank Focus on Liberia because through Focus on Liberia, Alice is quoting the Bible now.
Amen.
I say amen to that. Okay, folks, in cyberspace, we have been here for over 2 hours now. You have heard from our two analysts. They don't agree, but that's the beauty of this platform. We bring people from different backgrounds who see it differently so that you can have a balanced information when you leave this platform. You can't find it anywhere else. Only one platform, and that name is Focus on Liberia. Don't forget, tomorrow we are starting our Periscope series. Series 1 will be on the opposition. We want to know whether we have opposition in the first place, at least to talk about whether the opposition represent a viable alternative. Alice Tutu Jones will be here. Mr. Wild Michael Gilman will be here. This man is not a friend of the opposition, and we are giving him the knife, and he is entering the slaughterhouse. It will not be easy on the hour of politics. Dennis?
Then on Wednesday, we will have former chairman of the Liberty Party, Mr. Ben Samvi, who's also a member of the COP, to come here and Focus on Liberia and discuss current issues. Wow. Ben will be here, and Wednesday, 7 p.m., don't you dare miss it. Gentlemen, we have spent over 2 hours. The protest is over. What do we expect next? So I want you to give your final statement, but in that final statement, talk about what next on the side of the COP, also the side of the government. As I was saying, most of the issues, those burning issues, you could see that our COP has listed a laundry list. No one can deny the economic realities in the country. COP have included even the opening and closing of radio stations has issues to protest about. So if we kind of cut through some of the rhetorics, we see that there are some burning issues. Where do we go next? What will the government be doing? Where you disperse the crowd, but you did not disperse the issues. Those issues are still there. Even though Costa and the COP, they have made a lot of mistakes, and even the credibility of some of them have been questioned. They see them as an extension of the election in which they lost. But where do we go from here as Liberians? What do we do next? What do we see in the crystal ball? What do you think will be the strategy? What will be the next move of the COP? And what do you think the government will be doing next to address not just the concern of the COP, but the concern of ordinary Liberians, including me, who is sending the scratch card money and paying the children's school fees all the time in Liberia? With that, let me start with Dr. Kula. Your final statement with those things inside.
Yeah, I'm afraid that what next is they're going to have a trumped up charge against Yeke Koluba, and there'll be a trial. And I think that the government will continue to do as they've been doing. They're not going to respond to the people. COP might go back into their corner and regroup. They probably will not come back because of some of the issues involved, but I think it's going to be a clampdown. And unfortunately, I see our country not going in the way it should go.
And the government addressing the people concerned, you think what the government going to do?
Addressing it at all.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Sorry, Mr. Cooney.
Why you keep putting the doctor thing on my head?
Maybe you should go for it.
No, I'm too well.
We gave you an honorary degree like Clement Week.
Yeah, honorary doctor degree from Focus on Liberia. I think
I think this is what I see. As I said initially, my assessment is that the COP has a strategic political goal in mind, and they will continue to push the boundaries in order to realize that goal. The government will have to find a way to deal with this issue on a much more strategic basis instead of being reactive all of the time. So that's why I see the COP go, and they're going to keep, I don't think this is the end. I think they're going to pause, they're going to regroup, and then they will go back in pursuance to their strategic goal, which it is not just to present grievances, to petition their government, but it's even much more deeper than that. With regard to the government, I would hope that even without the petitions from the COP, the government will recognize some of the issues that are at play. And the government will begin to take steps to address some of those issues. I'm encouraged by news reports that beginning February, the government will make effort to make salary payment current. I think that will go a long way to impact the lives of people. I'm also aware of some effort between the Central Bank of Liberia and some international partners to solve the liquidity issue in the country. I think that will also go a long way to address some of the concerns that the people are faced with. I understand also that efforts are being made to ensure that remittances that we send to our people in Liberia are being received and on time. I'm listing these things because these are the issues that impact the common people. These things impact Liberians of all political persuasion. So to the extent that the government is taking steps to address these issues, I think it will help to reduce the tension in the country, and I hope the government will do that. Then in the long term, I hope the government will also push their developmental objective, rural construction, agriculture, that holds the potential for employment for most of the young people that are in the country. As Alex alluded to, most of the problems we're facing in our country, they are actually economic. We have a situation where we have a large population of our youth that don't have anything to do. They begin their day from the attire shop, or they begin their day from these political charge forums, whole day singing, Zeguye Zeguye, and all of these songs. There has to be some hope for those young people. We have to find a way for employment opportunities for the people. I'm pretty sure the government is aware of these challenges. But the way to achieve those challenges faster is to also maintain a peaceful country. Let us not delude ourselves that all of those things will be done, in an environment of perpetual crisis. Then the final point I have to make is that we have to change our political system. We have to make the system more qualitative. We have to pay attention to our electoral process. We have to pay attention to the whole issue of candidate selection, voter education, civic education. It is this process that will give us the long-term political gain for our country. And this is where, some of my efforts will be directed. Thank you.
That was the voice of the Executive Director of the Liberian Diaspora Political Action Committee, Mr. Whitman Kone, who just earned himself an honorary doctorate degree.
FOL. FOL University. Storm University.
I want for Dr. Kula to sign my degree because he is a one.
Yeah, I'd come to you, Mr. Chuchu Jones, your parting comment.
I'm not going to be too long. I think the Liberian people have said enough. And I thank the callers, though, the people who participate. I wish we would have more time so some of us can shut our mouths so that we can hear from the people themselves. And I think there's a show that coming up, Open Mic, that will just give callers the opportunity to come and talk. Because I think when I look at a better Liberia, first of all, the one we have is not going to get us anywhere. It's broken. It was designed for a elitist society with a few Congo people, and then the native people took OIA and they kept it. So nobody should look at that system and think that will produce anything of substance. Our whole political process is a barbarous scheme. How people come to office, how people win election. So when you talk about democracy, it's not just an event. Okay, first you have to create a situation where people are empowered, people have jobs, they're not voting for a bag of rice. So we don't have that, unfortunately. And instead of us, the little, the ones who know ABC, think about, building a country for the next generation. We advocating, make me chairman, make me president, make me director, make me this. This is what the future generation, our generation is gone. We've screwed it up. The people who came first screwed it up. So what I'm appealing, the ordinary people, no names, no Dennis's, coolers, let them start thinking of ways to empower themselves and hold themselves and their government or wherever system accountable. Nobody's going to do it for you. Tower didn't do it for you. Tubman didn't do it for you. Johnson didn't do it for you. And sure enough, we are not going to do it for you because these people, the system of which they come to power itself is corrupt. Okay, so like what Thomas Jefferson said, and I will leave you with this quote. He said, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of the patriot and the tyrant." Good and evil, there will always be fight. I'm not seeing a patriot in this case because the same man who said that he has 600 slaves. But good in terms of ideas will always clash against selfish and self-serving ideas. People will not like you because you're taking away the path to prevalence or something. But we have people in Liberia who stand up for the truth. Their names will not be known. You may not know them, they're not being a big person or something. Value those people. Those are your role models. That old man out there who stood up for something that was right. Who the lady there who gives food to someone who doesn't have food. The grandparent who adopts a child from the interior and sends them to school. That's how my mom went to school. She was a lady with her father had 16 kids in Darwin, Grand Bassa County. And this lady, Cordelia Brown, went there and took them and brought them to and gave them education. If she did not do that, I won't be here today. So those are our heroes, not George Weah, not Henry Casa, not Alexander Cummings, not Uri. The people who stand up and do things not for themselves, not to get in a history book or to say I have more people following me. And so let's think about that for a second. And again, all the people who are doing things in a weak way, Kula, Dr. Kula, Dennis, again, like I said, you may not be doing a lot, but what you're doing, yeah, it's enough. Those who go on the airways, all of them, once you're there for the right reason, you're not there to promote somebody. You're not there to promote yourself. That's how we build a better institution in a better country. Let's keep doing it. Let us not tire. Let us fight every wrong, evil, self, let us fight against our own nature. Let us start from our own homes. I'm a guy, I got a little money, I'm married, I go get young 16-year-old girl. Now go and say, yeah, let's change government. Let's start from ourselves. And we're not perfect. I'm not. But if we start from ourselves and look ourselves in the mirror, then we'll be able to say, okay, we can correct the wrongs. Thank you very much again. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you guys and good night. Well said, Alex.
Yeah, well said.
Okay, good night. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Who said I should go?
Oh my gosh. You want to go to church, Dennis?
Okay, folks, in cyberspace, my name is Anthony Sieb and co-hosting here with Dennis Jah. This is how we leave you with this song, We Are All Liberians. Thank you and bye-bye. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel on YouTube. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, on another thought-provoking talk show. Don't miss it. And from me and Dennis, we are saying bye-bye.